What's up, good people? How you doing today? Happy Tuesday? Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. We got the right day of the week. Can you hear me? Yep, it looks like you can hear me. I hope everyone's doing well today. What is today? Today is pipelines. Happy Pipelines Day, everyone. Welcome to day 12. I think we're on day 12 of pipelines. So we only have 2 more weeks. So that's pretty exciting. But tonight we're back with a little bit of Terraform and AWS. We learned a little bit about Terraform on Monday. And today we are going to dive into a little bit of a fun, kind of silly scenario. But, we got to do what we got to do. We're gonna hop into using Terraform as we might with a larger cloud provider like AWS. We did it with Linode on Monday just to kind of get our feet wet. AWS has many, many more services and is likely going to be the type of cloud provider you're going to be dealing with in a production setting with a company. And so we're going to see how we might want to do some of that today. What's up, Bevy of Codes? Good to see you, Chris. Lelar, Propagation 69. Welcome, Lead DevOps. Good to see you, Shred Ghoul. Ricadius. How's everybody doing? Nitro Sage, AI Luna. It's good to see everyone. Burning JC. Who else we got? A bond there. How are you all doing today? Crystallized Code, good to see you. KMod9, welcome to the channel. What's up, Os3, Os Seneca? I'm gonna try that one. Welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for the follow. C Morales, welcome as well. Swell, good to see you. Schwaboy, good to have you as well. Welcome to the channel. Hope everyone is having a good day. I want to thank AI Luna. I want to thank you in particular. And there's a couple other people who I will thank as I see their names come up. But thank you so much for the baby shower gift. I do appreciate it, for picking something off the registry. Seriously, that wasn't at all required. Me and my wife genuinely do appreciate that. As we're scrambling to figure out, what to do. I really do genuinely appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, so we're gonna hop straight into it because tonight, a lot of you may not have, although we dove into AWS just a bit, this is not the AWS course, and there might need to be a little bit of setup that needs to happen for some people. So we're gonna make sure that you are able to get set up. So we're gonna hop right into it. Yes, there is a registry. I'll make a command for the registry. There is a registry. We are also doing our baby shower right here live on the channel for a number of reasons, but it's not gonna be until later this month. It'll be here. I'll give you information. It's gonna be fun. It's just because we're putting on a whole show. Everyone's tired of being on Zoom. We do not want to deal with a bunch of our older family members, everyone not understanding how to mute. And now I got to talk to this person and try to, who's talking, who's doing, we're not dealing with none of that. We're going to put on a show for everybody. So it'll be a little bit later. Yes, it is. It's for the baby. It really is. It's, it's for the little one. Okay. We're also going to do a gender reveal that day. We weren't going to reveal the gender at all. We were going to find out when the baby was born. But we found out early. Yeah, Terraform for AWS is exactly what I'm doing at the moment at work. Got your attention, Fig Leaf. Dope. That's pretty exciting. Jesus farted. I love it. And you're wondering what's your take on how popular Terraform is in production. Is this tool they use by a ton of companies, or is it more of a tech savvy folks who are using this tool? I'm a new grad, that's why I'm wondering. My work uses it, but wondering for other companies. Phenomenal question, Jesus farted. Terraform is absolutely a tool, is a very popular tool that organizations are using in production. 100%, it is very popular. If you go and look for certain job postings, specifically things dealing with infrastructure, systems engineers, systems administrators, DevOps, site reliability engineers, you will find Terraform is talked about on a lot of them, probably most of them. I would also argue that learning it is super helpful just in your pursuit of infrastructure as code, period. Infrastructure as code is in my opinion, a must learn concept for anyone who's dealing with infrastructure these days. So 100%, but no, it's extremely popular. This isn't just a niche product for tech savvy folks. This is a big time thing. What's up, Graututis? Welcome, Graudutis. I tried it. Welcome. It's good to see you as well. Twitch shower, yep, you can dig it. I know we went through a bunch of stuff. We went through some things where people, everybody wants you to do something. A lot of people, there are a surprising amount of people. We forgot. Me and my wife have been together for almost 12 years now. Almost half of our lives, to be honest. We're both 30. We've been together for 12 of those 30 years. And there's been a lot of people who we've met. There's been a lot of groups of people. There's been everyone all over who feels invested in this. And we had a lot of trouble. Everyone's like, oh, you got to have a shower. You got to do this. You got to do that. We're in the middle of a pandemic. People were like, oh, but I won't come if there's this many people there, blah, blah, blah. And it was just a hassle that we don't want to deal with. So we're like, hey, no big deal. No big deal at all. We will simply have it so that everyone can be a part of it. We are going to be doing a dive into all of the famous wives' tales for being able to tell gender. So you're going to be participating in a way where we're gonna does my wife's belly look like a football or does it look like a basketball? Because one of those means one thing. Something. We're gonna test things out. We're gonna put on our scientist hats. So you all are gonna vote, and we'll see what happens. And then we'll let you know what it is at the end. It's incredibly popular at my company at 350 employees. Yeah, it is really. Terraform is very, very, very popular. Monday session covered Terraform, and we use it with Linode. Yes. I missed your questions. I'm sorry about that as well. Yes, Monday we covered the basics of Terraform and kind of got up to speed on what it does and how it does it. And we did some examples with Linode. Today we're going to do those with AWS Cloud. So first, let me get you this link to what we're going to do today. Share the web. All right, let's make a command really quick for this so that you can grab it on your own. Let's see, commands. Edit, no, add. This one needs to be new. What do we want to call this today? I don't want to change the Terraform command. We'll make it a project command today. We'll just do the project command. So we will edit it. Let's go ahead and edit project command, and it'll take you to the Notion page. Hold on, here we go. All right, go ahead and hit !project, and it will take you to the Notion page that we are going to use tonight. I'm going to grab it myself on this computer instead so that we can have it. And we'll read through what we're going to do tonight and talk about the fun that we are going to attempt to have. What's up, Jay Shobin? Good to have you. Loud Luxury. It's good to have you here tonight. You're coming in right at the right time, getting ready to do a little bit of Terraform with AWS. Now, once again, what's up, Gone Freaks? How you doing today? I want to be very, very clear about what's going to happen tonight. We only have around 2 hours. We try to keep it 2 hours. We always go to like 2.5 hours. The goal tonight is, again, just to get you comfortable with Terraform, touching and feeling it, and going through the process. We're gonna skip a lot of concepts because we just can't get through all of the things. Like we're gonna try to be as straightforward as possible this evening when we go through and read this and see this. We're gonna stay away from modules. We'll talk about modules, but we're gonna stay away from the implementation of modules. We're gonna stay away from the things that I think would confuse you a lot. We can ask questions about them. If you have questions about them, we can talk about them. But our implementation is going to be very straightforward again, because this is, we have 1 week to dive into Terraform, and this is not the time to learn everything Terraform has to offer. It's to see how it can be practically used. And I think you'll get a lot out of this. You really will get a lot out of this. All right, here we go. Oh, you can't see the screen. Let's talk about it. This is the Terraform and AWS workshop that we're going to dive into on this fine Wednesday, where I actually think it's about to snow right now. I think it's about to snow like every single day over here on the East Coast of the United States. So, I'm glad we're inside. We're warm. We're going to do this, so that we can keep ourselves warm. We can keep paying the light bills. And yeah, it's pretty crazy how much it's snowing. I do like it though, because I get to use my truck for things other than that. Also, people who are interested a little bit in my racing career. It's not a career, but I am, even though it's gonna be baby watch time, we got some contingencies. March 5th, I'm actually gonna stream some of it. March 5th, I'm doing my first track day of the year. It's gonna be very, very exciting. I'm excited about that. It's gonna be the first time I get to tow to the track. It's gonna be an interesting thing as well. All right. Woo, 18, 20 inches. I can't handle that much snow at all. That's way too much snow for me. I'm cool with the 3 to 5 inches that we get over here most of the time, but let's do it. So Terraform plus AWS workshop, here is the scenario. So and when I say you, I'm talking about you, I'm talking directly to you, the collective yous. You've been hired by a guy named Ralph, random guy, but his name is Ralph, okay? He just made $1 million off of Dogecoin. All right, and he's finally ready to invest in his startup idea. He's had the startup idea for a long time, but never had a way to carry it out. He is not a software developer, but now he's got the money to make it happen, okay? But his idea, it was Clubhouse, all right? But they did it first. So now it's called Treehouse, all right? Got to make it a little bit different. Got to put your own spin on it a little bit, but Treehouse is the app that he is making. There's actually currently no actual app. there's gonna be more about that later, but there's no app right now, because you just got the money to do stuff with it. But there is a team of devs building it as we speak. These devs have planned out the app and have sent over infrastructure diagram and what they're gonna need to ensure that things run successfully. So they've planned it out, they've charted it out, they've given us a list of things that they need to ensure that they can run this thing and that they can build this thing when they get to, a further point in the process, and they want to make this happen now. So Ralph, he was a project manager before Dogecoin went to the moon. All right. So before he got rich, he was a project manager doing some cool things. He's seen software projects, so he's familiar with them, although he's not a super technical guy. And he understands the value of automation. He wants to implement it right up front. He wants to make sure that he has all of the ethos of a real amazing project. And so he wants to really implement automation right up front. And he also wants to enable his developers to be able to work as autonomously as possible. Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to deliver the codified infrastructure via Terraform that satisfies the following requirements to Ralph's dev team. Okay, we're gonna read it. Pretty simple stuff. Pretty simple stuff if you're super familiar with AWS. I assume a lot of you aren't super familiar with AWS, so we didn't want to go too deep into some of the stuff. I was going to, the first iteration of this was going to be actually a pretty wild setup, because of the way that you can make an application like this. There was all kind of, messaging queues and it was all kinds of different things, but it was like this is more of a dive into AWS rather than Terraform. But here we go. So time for liftoff. Let's simply look at this infrastructure list. All it is a checklist of infrastructure items. Doesn't guide where we're going to take this, and we can take it to completion. Hopefully we can get through all of it. We'll get through as much as we can. No big deal. So the code will need to handle 3 different environments. All right. So we will need a development, staging, and production environment. This right here, we are in the pipelines course. We're understanding software delivery, automation, and infrastructure. This is something that is a pretty important concept to understand, talking about environments and having different places for code to exist that have different purposes. Okay. So development environment is going to be where code goes to. We talked about it during the, oh no, we didn't talk about that here, but during the testing phase, an automated testing phase of Decoded, we talked about having a place where code can be integrated together, where we can push code where it is relatively volatile. It's okay if things aren't up and things aren't stable all the time. It is a place for us to understand what's happening with our code and to be able to see our code running in an environment that maybe isn't perfectly production-like, but is closer to production than our personal machine. All right, so that's usually the first stage for a lot of the first stop for a lot of code bases to go to a to a development environment, a place that's for development. Okay. And again, that's usually a place that is okay for, should things break, it's okay, no big deal. Yeah, we need to fix them. We need to make sure it's up so that we can push more developmental things there, but it's okay. Then there's usually a staging environment. So where the development environment can be pretty volatile, the staging environment is often very production-like or much more close to production. Oftentimes, you want your staging environment to live on production, to live on infrastructure that mirrors production, so that you can really see how this thing works. The goal is to make this a place where code is fully stabilized before it goes out to production. It gets ready to go to production. Basically, we're gonna put things there, we're gonna stage it, we're gonna get to go through it, see it as if it were in production, but it's not actually in production. And then production is where the public gets your stuff. When you put it out to prod, that's your application is deployed, everyone can access it. So we want these 3 environments to give the developers a couple different places to set up and see their code. Okay. The next thing, create a monthly budget to keep costs in check. Okay, so we want to create a quick budget real quick. Although Ralph has won $1 million, he knows that in today's world, $1 million doesn't go incredibly far when you're trying to do something like this. He's got a whole team of developers ready to go that he's paying, and he wants to make sure that he keeps his costs around $1,000 a month to make sure that he can afford to get everything that he needs to get done. So that'd be pretty helpful for him. We'll also need some servers to do the main processing and enable voice features. So we'll just need some servers that we're used to. We can think about, we need some servers. All right. And the setup that we're gonna need is for development servers, we're gonna want one T2 micro that's on Amazon Linux, that's tagged appropriately, and it also has the IP addresses as output. They don't want to have to do any magic to understand what servers they need to log into or to see things at, okay? They just want to be able to spin it up and have that information for them. So that's what they want for that one. The only difference between development and staging right now is that staging has 2 T2 micros, okay? And they're tagged appropriately, and production has 4 T2 micros. All right, so you know there might be a load balancer in front of these. They didn't specify this yet, but just we are running multiple servers in different environments, different numbers of services in different environments. All right, super cool to see you pop up in the front page. I've seen you around the Be More community. Oh, dope. What's up, Apple Cheesy? Well, welcome. My name is Aaron. It's nice to meet you. If you see me around the Baltimore community, I will absolutely keep it up. Thanks for coming through. Good to see you. All right, so S3, we need an S3 bucket for that's not supposed to be status hosting. Let me fix that right now. I don't know why it says status hosting. Sometimes your brain just moves. I never know if it's my brain or if it's my fingers that are the problem, but you know, let's change it to static hosting, and let's refresh. All right, yeah, static hosting and for assets. So S3 buckets, if you're not familiar with Amazon yet, S3 is an object storage service inside of Amazon. Super cheap, super great. But what it does, even though it's for storage, think like Dropbox. You can just drag stuff in there if you want. Although it's used for object storage, it also enables features for web hosting. So if you have a static web page, you can put your files there and it will host your website for you for almost nothing per month, which is great, depending on your traffic. But yeah, so they need one for both static. They need a static page for hosting a website. Basically, it's going to be their landing page until this full thing is deployed, where people can submit their email and stuff. And assets, when the application is actually released, the application will pull from this assets bucket to be able to. This is where all the pictures and images and things are going to end up being stored. So we need 2 buckets for each of these environments. A DynamoDB table as well to save data about the rooms with the following attributes. DynamoDB is a NoSQL database table, and we just need a hash key of room ID and range key, and a bonus of setting S3 backend. I don't know if we'll get through all of this, but we are gonna do our best to get through all of this. And tonight's gonna be good because we're gonna talk about different Terraform concepts, and we're gonna learn some of that stuff, but we're also going to learn a little bit more about AWS. We did some stuff with AWS already, but this will be another little dive a little bit deeper in for people who are not participating in the Horizons course. All right, let me turn this on. It is, sometimes my heat works too well. Sometimes it's not working well enough. It is pushing out some heat right now. You mean state? What do you mean by states and city? Which thing were we talking about when we said you mean state? Oh, I meant static for that where I said status. I meant static for that. What was said about the IP address output? Hikaroshi, all that was simply, oh, is that not what I said at the end? 1 second. What's said about the IP address output? Simply that the developers, when they're gonna use this code to spin up environments themselves, they don't want to have to log into AWS. We're actually not even going to give them console access to AWS. They don't want to log in. They also don't want to run any command line commands. They don't want to have to run any weird queries against AWS to be able to get the IP address back for their server. So these outputs will allow them to get that. And yes, the Terraform state on S3, yes, but to do that, it is changing the backend. You are changing where the backend is where the state is stored. So to achieve the state going to S3, we need to set S3 as the backend of this Terraform repository. How does one get experience before their first AWS cloud job when all they have is a certificate? Good question. Good question. The one really amazing thing about the cloud in particular is that I think that the cloud is one of the interesting things where your hands-on experience going through labs and stuff with your certificates is so directly applicable to the things that you're actually going to be doing, that it is valuable. I think that there are a number of projects and things that you can come across, but there's a number of standardized deployment models or ways that an application can be served to a user that you would probably want to go to through manually. So some of those things are, hey, make sure if you're going to be diving into AWS, understand how you can set up a static site in S3. Static site hosting is a great solution for a lot of problems. So learn how to do that, and then also understand how you would set up a scalable service on a normal EC2 instance, behind a load balancer. And then also dive into, how do I deploy that same application that I deployed on EC2? How do I do that with containers, and how can I apply that now to ECS? Maybe. I think the cloud in particular is where the projects that you go and search for are the most applicable to you. And I think that's the best way. I think it's also super, when you do go through them, it's pretty easy in comparison to discuss them. The ideas aren't so abstract as if you were going to go into a software interview, and it gets a little bit easier to talk about those things. But it is tough. Yeah, it can be tough. But again, I think the cloud in particular is super helpful. Like, especially Rhodes Gold, if you're studying for any of the associate level courses, associate level certificates. If you hop on like A Cloud Guru or Linux Academy, which are one and the same now, they have a bunch of labs to kind of go through and really get hands on with some of this stuff. Are these bullet points an example of a system design criterion? No, they probably wouldn't be written out exactly like this. But yes, they are an example. You probably get them in a different way. But yeah, these are things that you would have to take into account. These are things that would need to be expressed to you when you're building this thing. If you're not the person who is in charge of the design and is in charge of the creation of these things, or making decisions about what this looks like, these are the questions that you're going to have to make sure you have answered. How many servers do we need? What like there's also a lot of questions inside of here that we're going to ignore for the sake of time. But like things like, what kind of networks are we talking about here? Should these be accessible by everyone? Should these be walled off in their own VPCs? Should these different servers be able to speak amongst each other, or should they also be in their own places? Things like, how much hard drive space do we need on these EC2 instances? Do they need dedicated IP addresses, elastic IP addresses? There's all kinds of questions inside of here, but we're just gonna go with a lot of defaults here, again, for time's sake, because it gets pretty crazy. User stories, pretty much user stories. Yes, they would probably present it to you most likely in some type of user story. Everyone doesn't practice this. This is a Scrum Agile thing where you write these stories to tell what you want, why you want it, and you can use that to do your work. If you're practicing Kanban, a lot of infrastructure practices like purely Kanban, which you get a little card saying, hey, this is what you must do, and here are the requirements here, and normally that's how they will be delivered to you. You have to check out my guy, Stephanie Merrick. Let's see. Yeah, I will. Certified Solutions Architect and Developer Associate. I'll check that out. I usually, like I said, I keep a subscription to A Cloud Guru because it's dope, but I see a lot of 4.7s, 4.8s here with a lot of reviews, so must be a pretty good course. I like it. Cool. Yes, your requirements will define how you implement the solution. All right, so let's hop in and let's get this thing going. If you do not have an AWS account, I will show you what to do. I'll go through it pretty quickly, but we should get set up here. I'm gonna set up into a different account. I've now sectioned off, as I always should have, an account for my, here we go. Yeah. For this, for the Academy, I've sectioned off a whole separate account for this, which is good. So I'm gonna get logged in, head over to Amazon. You do have to put in a credit card if you wanna do anything, but yeah. What's up, WS Sheldo? It says your staff. I don't know what that means, but I assume that means your Twitch staff. Well, welcome to the channel. It's good to see you. We're doing some AWS stuff. I know you all are an Amazon company. So yeah. Definitely, I agree. I highly recommend A Cloud Guru and Linux Academy. I'm telling you, if cloud is your game, invest in yourself and drop the money on a Cloud Guru subscription. Even if it's only for the weekly updates to what's going on in all the cloud services, all the updates and things, it is worth its weight in gold, to be 100% honest with you. Anytime you need to refresh on something, if you're working on a new project at work, I'm not joking. We literally went to use, what were we using? I had never used Cognito before, like seriously used Cognito. And we needed to do a quick project with it. And I'm like, cool, I'm gonna just go watch this Cognito tutorial and help me out perfectly. Once someone does the labs, how can you project it on your resume? My question is extending on to road goal statement, a comment. That's an interesting one. There are two schools of thought here. Now, getting the job is the game. It's a game for sure. There are two different things that you can do. One, you can simply put on there, you can make a place for coursework where you list out what you did in the project. Like, don't just say, oh, I did this course on Linux Academy or this course on A Cloud Guru. I put maybe the title of the course and put the configured multi-AZ, cloud setup or something. I don't know. But be very specific about the things that you did in there. That's super helpful. I also have seen people, if you feel confident in what you've done, they'll actually put some of that stuff in the experiences of some of their related roles as well. I'm not telling you to lie, but I am telling you to market yourself in a way that you think will best show what you actually know. Yeah, I mean, and so I put a section there for the things that you've gone through, the projects that you've gone through for learning. I throw it on there. I have a couple of resume examples that I'll share with you all as well. It's really underrated framework. That's amazing. Vadin, I don't know what that is, and now I must look it up. Java Web Framework. See, that's okay. I told you. I said I'm gonna try to stop hating on Java. I will definitely check that out. Yes, embellish a little bit. Sometimes that's what has to happen. So it's interesting because all your resume really is a quick screener to get you into the door. That's what it is. You've got to do the work after that. So I wouldn't lie, because it's gonna put you in a weird spot if you do lie. You're gonna be very uncomfortable. I'm telling you this as someone who has lied on their resume before to hopefully get in the door. And I got in the door and was completely over my head, and I was in over my head, and it caused a lot of issues, and it's very uncomfortable, not a place you want to be. But especially when you're trying to get that first role, finding a way to just get it on the resume in some way can be super helpful. So I'm not telling you to lie. If you've done the work, if you've learned the things, sometimes putting them there as projects, some companies don't necessarily look at that in a super positive light. They want to see the work experience. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I know, and just telling you what I'm just telling you what I know. And that's as someone, I'm telling you this, I'm putting myself on the line telling you this stuff. As someone who's gonna be bringing jobs to the channel, and I really want to help you all get roles. I really want to make it so that no one has to do this. I want to make it so that you don't have to do any of that, because it's stupid to have to do that. That the projects are valuable, the work is valuable. What don't you like about Java? Mostly just its verbosity, and most companies are still using older versions of Java. And that makes it much more difficult to do the things that you can do today with tech. Newer versions of Java are great, but not a lot of people are starting up projects in Java, to be 100% honest. Big companies and stuff aren't really starting brand new projects in Java. More so, my biggest problem with Java is dealing with the JVM, is managing the JVM. If you've ever been someone who, we're talking about managing systems here, and if you were ever somebody who has to manage the JVM, it's never been easy. It's not an easy thing to do. It causes a lot of problems. It is difficult to do. Strange that companies are not upgrading. It's not, because it's enterprise. It's not all that strange. It's a significant piece of work. There's significant overhead in trying to upgrade software. So, I understand how it happens. These large companies get something in place. The thing is good. And once it's good, it moves slow. These companies have to move slow because they're so large. I understand it, but that makes it tough. That's why people don't like most enterprise applications and things. That's It's not all of the reason why Microsoft has, people have the outlook on Microsoft that they have, but it is part of it. It's part of that reason for sure. All right, here we go. We got to get moving. Sorry about that, but good questions. Hold on to the questions. We'll try to get to them after we dive into this a little bit deeper. So one of the first things that you need to do is you need to be able to access AWS programmatically before you can do anything with Terraform. So Terraform needs to be able to authenticate and authorize with AWS to be able to do this. It can use your AWS credentials, but you got to get those AWS credentials first. And the service that you use for that is IAM, Identity and Access Management. So I want you to go in, I want you to click on this, and I want you to go to users and simply add yourself a user. I already have one. If you've already done this, you do not need to do this. This is for everyone who is new, who wants to go through this with us, who does not have an AWS account. You must create a user here. And what I'm gonna do is, you type in whatever you want your username to be. I'm gonna type in user one because I don't need this user. And what you wanna do is make sure you enable programmatic access. You don't need both, but you can click both if you'd like. Cool. But you want programmatic access. This is going to allow us to, what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to be able to interact with AWS through software or through command line interfaces. Yeah, Apple II Games, absolutely delete your root keys. You should do that. This is a special account, not a huge deal that they're not deleted right now, but that is a security paradigm. They have a whole security interface, which will help you go through some of those things for sure. But make sure you have this top box clicked. That's all you need for sure. Then what we're going to do is go to the permissions. Okay. So I'm going to make a disclaimer for myself right now. Because no one can see your screen. You can all see my screen, but this user, everything in AWS, you kind of need explicit access to be able to do. By default, you generally don't have access to do anything, and you need to have explicit access to do pretty much everything. We are going to spin up a few things. Usually you want to follow what's called the rule of least privilege. And when you create these users, you only want to give them access to the things that they need. So you can do one of two things real quick. You can click administrator access, and that will give them access to spin up everything. The problem with this is that if anyone ever gets your keys or anything, they can run your bill up. They can spin up, they can do whatever they want. Or you can go through the services that we're using tonight are EC2. And so there's an EC2, full access. There's S3, and there's an S3 full access. There's also DynamoDB. So the problem is we're doing more than just EC2 instances tonight. We are doing EC2. We're also doing something with Dynamo. We're also doing something with S3. And so one of the most frustrating things about AWS is that permissions can be a mess. Not a mess, they can be hard to manage. And when you are following that rule of least privilege, it can be tough to know exactly what permissions you need, and things get kind of weird. So because what my recommendation is tonight, while you're going through this, is to select this administrator access one for tonight only. Once we are done with this, we're gonna spin down all of our stuff, and then I think you should actually remove that user from inside of the interface. And I can go through and do that with you. But that is my recommendation for not having to run into a bunch of issues over this 2 hours. This is kind of the best thing that you can do to get going. So click that button right there. You don't need any tags right here. Just go to review and then go to create user. Now, it's going to show you this page. It's only ever going to show you this page one time. So if you click off of this page, you are going to have to redo this. You are going to get two things here, okay? You are going to get an AWS access key and a secret key, all right? You're gonna need both of those. All right, so what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna create a new user. I'm going to create a username, which is user2, real quick, programmatic access only. I'm not gonna give this user any permissions, and it's purely so that I can show you something a little bit later. I'm not gonna give any permissions and go to next tags in case any of you get this. I'm gonna create the user, and I get two options here, all right? This is my access key. I shouldn't show you this, but again, this user has 0 permissions. I have this access key here and the secret key right here. All right. And this account is also ultimately pulled off from another organization, which just won't have access to. So I have some mitigation plans for this, but there's nothing you can do here with this. You need these things. You can also download, the CSV to kind of keep it. That's cool. If you're not going to delete this user, then make sure you download that so that you don't lose those things. This is the only time that you're going to be able to see them. I'm going to leave this up right now. So now what I'm going to do is, now that I have a user set up, I'm going to go and log. So you can do this remotely. I mean, you can do this on your computer. I'm going to be operating out of a remote development environment real quick. So let me just get logged into the place where I'm going to be doing this work from. All right, so I'm logged into my system. And what you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to install Amazon AWS CLI. So if you are on Mac, I think you can do a brew install AWS CLI. But it's a standalone installer, I believe nowadays. You wanna download AWS CLI 2, but I'll share this with you. Yes, the download CSV option has always been there. At least as long as I've been using Amazon. You can also give permissions for S3 for a specific bucket. If you give S3 full to the account, they can jump buckets. HR shouldn't be in marketing. Yeah, I mean, that's very, very true. You can get very granular about your permissions, like very, very specific, like specific actions to specific files. To it gets pretty wild actually, but yeah. And don't commit your keys. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in a second. All right, so once you get it installed, if you click getting started, for whatever your use case is, you can run through and get that thing installed, and hopefully you can get that installed. Now, what's good about this is you can kind of do this in two pieces. If you're really struggling with this, you don't need to do this piece. You can do this elsewhere, but the problem is, I'll show you where you can do this at. The problem is you're gonna have to do development there as well. And that's, what's that thing called? Cloud Shell, I think it's called. You can also use Amazon's Cloud Shell, which is a service that will allow you to interact with AWS programmatically. And once it's up, you don't have to worry about installing your AWS CLI. It'll already be there and it'll be available, but you would have to do your development from here. And I'm not sure if anyone is comfortable doing that. Yeah, a Cloud9 environment. Well, the issue with the Cloud9 environment is going to be permissions. But yes, a Cloud9 environment works as well. Also, Cloud9 by default, I do not think is going to give you access to AWS CLI. It might if you do it off of. It might actually. I wonder how that works. We should probably check that out. Do you prefer Azure or AWS? Right now, I prefer AWS because I know a lot more about AWS. I've done more in AWS. I started diving into Azure maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I started my process of diving deeper into it. I've done stuff with it. And right now I still like AWS, but as I learn more, I'll definitely talk about that one day. Once I get to a point where I feel like I've explored it enough and played with it enough, I'm definitely going to do a video or write a pretty in-depth blog post about it, about what my recommendations are in 2021 and what I like about each and what I don't like. Yeah, so from here I could interact with everything in my AWS account. Right now there's nothing in here at all, I don't think, but yeah. Cosmos DB is the only good reason to use Azure over AWS. Is Cosmos DB there? I'm assuming it's a relational database offering, probably specifically Microsoft SQL, maybe, or is it their NoSQL offering? I'm new to this stream in conjunction with a course or something somewhere else, or self-contained in the stream. I asked because I see multiple parts. Oh yeah, this is part of it's a course. It's a 16-part course, 8 weeks, 2 times a week. It's called Pipelines, which is a journey into software delivery, automation, and infrastructure. This is DevOps and SRE concepts. If you go to academy.mastermind.io, you can get information about that. They run lots of times throughout the year, all kinds of different things. And there are 3 courses going on right now. Okay, so I'm logged in. I'm set up. My setup is a little bit different, but we're gonna go ahead now and we're gonna get started with the Terraform stuff. So we got Terraform installed last time, so we're not gonna go through getting Terraform installed. If you don't have Terraform installed, simply Google Terraform installation. Pretty easy process because it is a standalone executable, because it's written in Go, super easy to do. It's a NoSQL database, but in my opinion, Azure has other good services as well. I wonder, so danger. I'm just throwing this out there. Why would you say, why do you think Cosmos DB is better than Amazon's offering of DynamoDB? So we're gonna spin up a Dynamo table tonight. I'm a gigantic fan of DynamoDB. I have to imagine that they're pretty similar to each other. Do you have any reasons why you think it is better? Just wondering. You don't need, I mean, you can be like, cause I use it, whatever. Basically, it's the only serverless graph DB. Okay, all right, that's helpful. All right, I haven't had to do much with graph databases, so, you know, when I find a need for it, that might be cool to look at for sure. All right, so let's get started here. I'm gonna make a directory. Let's see what we have in here. This is, what's today's date? I mean, what's this class is pipelines. Go ahead and make a pipelines directory. And let's go in here. And we'll do it right inside of here. It's fine, not a big deal. Let's go ahead and begin setting up our entire repository. It's a lot, it's a lot we're gonna have to do, but let's begin setting up our entire repository. So I'm going to start off with a main.tf to get us started. We know a couple different things. Well, let's set it up. Let's, right here, let's add a node. Let's start off with a main.tf to get everything kicked off, no problem. Whoops. The very first thing that we need to do is to set up what we learned last time, that to interact, to use Terraform to be able to interact with any service, we need to use a provider. We need to grab provider information and use a provider to be able to interact with the APIs that Amazon has to offer. So let's head over to registry.terraform.io so we can get that provider information and get all set up. What's up, Ibu from Paris? Welcome, welcome. Also, 7 cents. I'm gonna go with that. I don't even know how I got that, but SE7, welcome to the channel. Pat M, good to have you. The Andrew, welcome to the channel. Apple the Games, thank you so much for the follow. Jabin, or Jabin, welcome. Nivek, good to have you. Gone Freaks, it's good to have you all here. What would you recommend first, repo folder or environment folder? That is a great question. I think, it doesn't really matter. Honestly, probably repo first. Like if I was, I probably would do repo first, to be honest. And I like how you said in folder environment for, like, I like how you said that. We're gonna talk about some of that shortly, but probably repo first to me. I'm confused. Are you doing WSL2 or are you doing this on Cloud Shell? I'm using WSL2 here. I'm doing this inside of WSL2. Again, one of the reasons why I'm not doing it inside of Cloud Shell is because I have my AWS CLI set up, and I wouldn't have all of my development tools available to me if I did do it through Cloud Shell. All right, so what we're gonna do here is we are going to begin to set up our provider. And so we saw last time we could go right to the registry.terraform.io website to get information about this. And the AWS provider is the one that we want to use. This is going to tell Terraform how we can interact with AWS's APIs properly. And I like how they add this over here. This used to be a much different process. This is kind of new and kind of nice. So you all are learning this when they put in some fancy stuff to put things right at your fingertips. And we're going to grab this provider information and we are going to paste it in and we are going to get it all set up for what we're doing. Let's undo that. All right, there we go. Okay, so we have this set up. Whoops, no. I don't know why it's making all these beeping noises. Let's turn this down. I gotta turn off that bell. That's really annoying. Okay, so we got this stuff in here. Our provider is set up. We're saying, hey, the required providers that we currently have is AWS. We need to get AWS. The source will be HashiCorp AWS. The version is 3.27. 1.0. And here is the actual provider block that we can use to set up a few options. So we grab that, but that is not complete. That is not set up all the way that we need it to be set up. And the way that we can do this is we need a couple different options. Now, let's see where we can find this information in documentation. I already know that we need two things for this to be able to work. We can set up the provider, but it also, Terraform also needs to know who you are and like where to put things at. So the two required things for the AWS provider setup are that you need to have your profile information, or you need to have your key information, and you need to have a region set up. And so you can do this in a couple different ways. I am not going to do it this way because this is a problem, and I don't think that you should do it this way either, but you can do it this way tonight if you want. Just be very cognizant about not pushing this piece to GitHub. You can put those credentials, you can stick them right here. All right, you could do, I don't know what the key for it is. I'm gonna check really quick what the key is, but I'm just putting this something like this. It would be like AWS secret key and AWS access key would go right here. And I'll go look up what they actually are. I don't know if those are the right keywords. And you would paste in those keys right here, the ones that we downloaded, okay? You would paste those in right here. Great. And that would allow you to be able to authenticate. But I don't recommend doing this, but that might be the easiest for some of you to do. If you can't get this next part to work, to get things going, you can do that. But again, do not push this to GitHub. Obviously, you do not want to push your credentials to GitHub because it's super problematic. There are all kinds of bots right now that are simply scanning over GitHub looking for keys like this. That's not, a surprising amount of people get hacked this way, not realizing they can do what they not realizing that they've pushed their stuff up to GitHub. What's up, Brock Sadie? Thank you so much for the Twitch Prime sub. It's good to have you. Terraform can go off the AWS CLI credentials. Yes, it can use the AWS CLI credentials, and that is what I'm going to do now. And so, if you have your AWS CLI credentials set up, you're gonna do profile, and you're gonna do equals for everyone. For everyone who has no idea what a profile is, I can guarantee you your profile is going to be default. All right. So if you set up your AWS CLI credentials for anything that we've done in this course so far, or Horizons or whatever, if your AWS CLI is set up, your profile is going to be default, and you can simply type this in. This will use the credentials that you have available already set up on the system. Okay. Now, I'm going to use a different profile because I actually use different profiles because I signed into multiple AWS accounts. I need to authenticate with multiple AWS accounts. So there are things you can set up these different named profiles. I have one called Academy for this one. Okay, so my profile is called Academy. Yours should probably be default, most likely, okay? And then it needs one more piece. And the other thing that it needs is a region. All right, so the region is going to be where do you want these things to be deployed to? Now, you do not have to hard code this. I'm going to hard code this right now, but we'll talk about making it not hard coded in a few minutes. And let's do that. So we're going to do Academy up here. I do think this needs to be in quotes. I think it needs to be a string. Uh-oh. My whole shift key just exited my hot swap keyboard. So hold on, let me try to get that back in there. So one thing to note about this keyboard is I thought that KBD fans did not have a plate for it. So I never got a plate for it. And so it's been a plateless keyboard. I do have a plate for it now, but I haven't put it on yet because it's gonna take a long time to do. So sometimes my keys come off, unfortunately. Okay, so Academy, and then I'm gonna put everything here in US East 1. And how do you know which region you want to use? Well, you can select whatever region you'd like using. If you click the little button over here, where yours might say Oregon, yours might say Ohio, it might say something. You hit the little button here, and it'll show you a couple of different regions. I say choose the one that's closest to you. US East 2, US West. If you're somewhere else in the world, I say choose the one that's closest to you. Yes, it is a heavy hands problem, unfortunately. And it tells you what the key is right here. So you can see that, but I'm going to use US East 1. All right, and these are the only two required items. You need your credentials and you need a region to get set up automatically. Now, this region can be dynamic. Again, we'll talk about that as we get a little bit farther along. Once this is set up, we can go ahead and if you'd like, you can begin to do your initialization of everything. Remember, the first thing that we need to do when we are setting up a Terraform repository is we need to initialize it, which grabs all of the module information, all of the provider information, it downloads it, it gets it all set up and ready for us to go. Now that it knows we have a provider, we can go ahead and run that initialization command if we want, but we haven't specified any resources or anything, so it's not really going to do much, but we can, let's back out and let's go ahead. Actually, no, let's add a resource first. Let's get some resources added and then we can go back and initialize everything that we need to initialize. What's up, V Hyphy? Good to see you. Also, what's up, Henry? Welcome to the channel. All right, so let's take a look back at what our job is and let's set some stuff up. I forgot to put this in here. Create monthly budget to keep costs in check. So you might say, I have no idea what that is. Now, Amazon has these billing, it has this budgeting functionality in your billing section that allows you to be able to set up some alarms and things, should you pass certain thresholds, and be able to set up a budget for an account. And we can go through it and do that. It's funny, I saw someone starting to do this in a video and I never finished the video, but I thought it was an interesting thing to do. So I tossed it on here. And so let's hop into the documentation and see how we can figure that thing out. Let's do it. MX5 largest. No. We're all good in the city. Let's save some money. That's why they're all T2 micros. I'm probably going to do T3 mediums for production, just to kind of show you there's a difference, but you all should use the free tier stuff. We're going to tear it all down tonight, so you'll be fine. But let's look at the documentation. And I wonder if there is, let's see. AWS billing service account. I'm going to type in budget here and see if there's there we go, AWS budget. Perfect. Perfect. There we go. And it's showing us right now that AWS budgets is a resource. Get out of here. It is a resource that we can use, and it's going to give us some examples of how to use it. And we can take that to start building out the things that we need to build out. Okay. So this provides a budget resource. Budgets use a cost visualization provided by Cost Explorer to show you the status of your budget, to provide forecasts to your estimated costs, and track your AWS usage, including free tier usage. Very helpful. Amazing. It's super nice, super amazing. Yes, it is super helpful. AWS billing, absolutely, because it can become like a gym membership. Except there's two differences between AWS billing and a gym membership is that one, to cancel your AWS stuff, you can just cancel it. Whereas gyms, you probably have to send in mail, or they make you mail stuff in. I'm gonna be 100% honest with y'all. I'm not even sure I know how to send mail anymore. I'm not even sure. I have no idea how much a stamp costs. I'm not sure what the process is. Like, I don't know how to send mail anymore. I learned it when I was young, but like, that's not something we do, it doesn't make any sense. I think it's really dumb. I think there should be some laws in place for gyms in particular. Like, I don't understand how they force you to do that. It's I don't know. It feels illegal. It feels like they've all banded together. And yeah, same. I'm paying for 3 gyms right now. 3. I'm paying for the Planet Fitness up the road. I'm paying for an Under Armour gym downtown, which I don't go to anymore. And I'm paying for one close to my house, which I actually do use the one close to my house. But my wife just sent off the mail because I don't know how to send off mail. So, Well, no, so if you show up in person, they tell you have to mail stuff in. We tried that. I'll show up, but they usually make you send in mail. And if you don't set a budget and you have a dev leave after setting up a job, you get hit with a huge bill. Yeah, where you can buy a gym. That's true. Definitely is. Yes, 3. But one gym's $9 a month. The other gym is like $19 a month. And the other gym's pretty darn expensive. The one I'm trying to cancel now is like $65 a month, but me and my wife were going there, and so that one's that one's got to go for sure. And gyms are open. Yep, they are open. What's up, Leo? How are you doing, Tommy? Good to see you. Ben is Jammings. Good to see you. Also, Soul Dragonbane. Good to have you. Welcome to the channel. So let's go ahead and set up this resource right here. And so I probably don't need all this stuff. Again, something I want you to practice is to see this thing and to take what you need to learn what's required. Technical documentation it takes time to learn how to go through these things. So, look through it. I really love, the reason I love Terraform so much is they give you examples. Like, they give you tangible examples right here that you can use. Create a budget for S3 with a limit of 3 gigabytes of storage. That's really amazing right here. Very, very, it's super helpful. So AWS budget, we could do it for everything. Let me go back to the billing really quick. I want to see if this is actually what we want. Okay, yes, definitely what we want. Budget EC2 monthly. So I guess that if we don't do a cost filter, then I'm assuming it will work for everything and not just be for S3. Maybe. So let's set it up and let's see what happens. You got to play with it. Again, you got to look at the bottom and see what is required. I usually do a control find for the word required to find out how many options here are required. But what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to go through this right here. I'm going to take this and then I'm going to delete all the extra stuff that I don't think I need. Removed out of state and they didn't let him cancel unless he came back and wait a month. That's wild. That is actually, I'd have to fight somebody. I just get a whole new card at that point. I cancel my card, but that's whack. Definitely. Gotta cancel gyms by mail, carrier pigeon, or smoke signal. That's what it feels like. It really does feel like that. I personally had a 12K comprehend bill for 2 days. That's crazy. Now, I hope you reached out to Amazon support. That's another thing. Amazon support will generally, don't abuse it, but Amazon support will generally generally cancel out those bills. If you run up something, major that you weren't expecting, they'll generally work with you on that. And I've seen ginormous bills get wiped out for people, but yeah, it is what it is. All right, so I'm gonna copy this. Let's go ahead and paste it in and let's get our first resource in here. So I'm gonna put a little comment here that says, this is our AWS budget. Okay, and we are gonna simply, set that paste, and let's go ahead and let's paste this thing in here, and let's take a look at it, and let's delete what we don't need out of this section. All right, so our resource is AWS budget's budget, but the internal reference for this is EC2. I'm actually gonna take this off and call this budget. Let's call it that. It is the name. Budget monthly is what I'll change it to. Type of budget is cost. Remember, ours is supposed to be $1,000 instead of $1,200 a month, but whatever. $1,000 limit US limit unit is going to be US dollars. Time period starts and ends on, so cool. I can leave that on. Period start is the date that it starts on. I can put today's date in here if we want. That seems kind of weird. These probably are not required. I doubt they're required, but they might be. Time period start. So start is required. Okay, but end is not required. Okay, so that's fine. Start date must come before the end date. Makes sense. I will leave that where it is. I think that'll be fine if we just leave it where it is. Maybe it won't, but I think it will be. Time unit monthly. Now here's the cost filters. This is when it was breaking down just for EC2. I'm going to remove that cost filter. Okay. So we're not going to filter via any cost. We're going to take all of our costs combined and use it as a total. Then we get a notification here. Okay. This is going to allow this budget to notify us in the event that we cross certain thresholds. So right here's a notification and it says comparison operator. So we talked about that when we did a little bit of programming. This is where we can say, hey, if the comparison operator that we're going to use is the greater than operator. So if the threshold is 100%. So if what we're using is greater than the threshold, then go ahead and send us out an email or something. And so I'll put a real email in there. I'll put academy.mastermind.io in there, and this will create it should create a notification for us. At least that's what I'm figuring. That makes sense. It's what it looks like. So I think we're good to go here. This is our first resource that we're going to be creating. So let's see what happens here. Now let's save it. I'm gonna save it right here, and let's get out of here. And we need to set this up first. We need to get it ready to be deployed. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a Terraform init. Remember, that's the first part of the workflow. We're gonna do a Terraform init to initialize everything. You can see here it is initializing the backend, which is basically saying, hey, you didn't set up a backend, so we are going to put all of the state information locally. We're gonna do everything local here. We're gonna grab the plugins and provider information here. We're gonna grab that from the registry. We're gonna get all the information and we're gonna get ready to go. Everything looks good. Everything's set up. We have completed the first piece of the pie. Now, what's next? Let's go ahead and validate. Make sure that we're, everything is right. Okay, we have valid configuration. Remember, this is syntax only. We're following the rules of Terraform, so everything looks good rules-wise. Syntactically, everything's good. And then let's do a Terraform format just to make sure we're good to go. Looks like it did make a few changes to the formatting of that file. Again, if it's not a perfect config, it might not be ideal formatting for you, but it's a consistent formatting paradigm for everyone, and it is super helpful in when you're writing code, especially when you're on a team. So we've gone through the workflow. We've initialized the repository or initialized the Terraform project. We have written some code. We've changed some code. We've written our configuration, described what we want. We have validated it. We have formatted it. Okay. Now let's do a Terraform plan. And what is Terraform plan going to do? Again, it's going to take a look at the state. We talked about state. It's going to take a look at the current state, which doesn't exist. So we're starting from the very beginning of everything, and it checks where things currently are. It checks what you said that you would like, that you described in your code. And it says, all right, these are the things that have to happen for us to get from the current state to the state that you would like things to be in. So it lets us know we are going to create these things for you. We're going to create an AWS budget. All right. With all of this information, these things will be known after apply. Great. This is almost always a good sign that things are right and fair, and that these things have interacted with the APIs properly. And we say, cool, we're ready to do that. Now we do Terraform apply. And now we've codified something that you can do manually after we type in yes, and we can go see that that's set up. We're set up. Let's go see if we can find it inside of the console to make sure that it did get set up in the way that we want it to be set up. Let's see. I'm like 70 cards on privacy.com. I do like privacy.com. I use a different one. I can't remember what it is because I haven't used it in a while for something new. But I use like ghost cards or something. I'll look for it. Terraform format changes the sequence of keywords. Incorrect arrangement is incorrect. Wait, I'm confused. What you said that, what are you asking there? Are you asking if it changes these keywords around? It does not change those keywords around. It mostly does indentation and mostly changes indentation and some other stuff. It changes indentation. It changes spacing, things like that. It doesn't change these things around. No, it'll keep those in order. And just make sure a lot of times you'll see it, mostly it lines up equal signs, which is surprisingly helpful. And I'm surprised it didn't line up these equal signs. That seems super weird to me. Oh, maybe it did. Oh yeah, it did. It actually did. Cool. It lines up the equal signs, which is great. Yep, it's like a linter. So it's written in Go, and Go has its own formatter. Go has a Go FMT that does the same thing, Go format, and it does much of the same thing. Okay, so let's check to see if our budget is set up inside of AWS, and that's usually set up in your billing dashboard here. So if you click on your account information and you click on my billing dashboard, this is a brand new account, so I've done nothing this month yet. But if I look at budgets over here, look at that, budget monthly. That's what we called it, and we've budgeted $1,000. Okay, it's here. It's set up. Phenomenal, very easy. We were able to set up a budget. We were able to codify a budget, and we can change that. Let's say that Dogecoin goes through the roof, Mr. Ralph says, hey, we have more money to deal with. We want to work faster. Let's go ahead and let's update our monthly budget. And we want to spend up to $2,000 a month now. I can go in, and if you want to update your budget now, all you got to do is change it to 2,000. And maybe we want to change our threshold also and say, okay, yeah, our budget's 2,000, but we want to be aware if we're getting closer to there. So maybe we want to set our threshold. Instead, let us know what's going on at 75%. So we can do some things to mitigate it for the last 25% if we want to do it. So let's save that right there. Okay, so 75 instead of 100. And now we've made some changes to code. So when you're doing infrastructure as code, this is how you want to make changes. If you want to make changes and stuff, you go to the code to do it. All right, and we'll save it, and we'll go ahead and we'll do another just to make sure we're good. Let's validate, make sure we didn't make any mistakes, make sure we didn't change the validity of the code. Let's go ahead and do another format to make sure we're good. It didn't make any changes there. And let's go ahead and do an apply. Remember, when we do an apply, it does a plan first. So you saw me do plan a bunch before, but now when I'm just gonna do an apply because an apply does a plan first. And let's take a look at it. Some things have changed. Some things that can be updated in place, which is great. So the limit amount goes from 1,000 to 2,000. We can see exactly what's gonna happen before we do it. The notification is gonna get removed, but then a new notification is gonna get added. The notification has to be replaced. All right, so we're making one change to this thing. We type in yes, and our brand new budget is now set up. Just like that. You make a couple changes to some code, we change a couple little things, and now we have a brand new budget all set up right here. Completely new budget. Phenomenal. We can change the budget name if we'd like, whatever we want to do. We can spin up multiple budgets if we want to. Yes, White Wolf, that's the thing to do. Go from 100 to 10, 1,000 to 10 makes much more sense, okay? So now this is here. This is available. The developers that are developing this app, apparently the way that this setup is, we're not going to be on board when they start doing this development. We're going to hand off this code to them so they can spin it up themselves. They're going to set up their own account, and they can take this code, and when they spin it up, they'll get exactly the same budget that we've set up right here. Now let's let's start to set up some of the stuff that we want to do. Maybe we don't want to hard code. Actually, we'll go back and we'll optimize that a little bit. We'll work with some more variables and stuff right now as we move on. Let's move on to the next item that's in this list. What's up, Kong? How you doing today? J Disease, good to see you. What's up, Ham Say? Welcome. Sauce MC Boss. Sauce MC Boss. Welcome to the channel. It's good to have you. What's up, Zach? Good to see you. All right, so we got our monthly budget on. Well, I got to do it. I'm going to check it off in my actual Notion page. I should have thought about that. No, not that. Create monthly budget, $1,000 a month. We're fresh. All checked off. All good to go. We're fresh. Yeah, there we go. Checked off. Good to go. We can move on to our different thing. Let's talk about this. This is actually pretty interesting. Let's talk about this first, and then we'll talk about this. Okay, so we need to set up some servers. This is something that we've already kind of done with Linode. When we were working with Linode, we set up those Linodes so that we could have a server to set up and log into. We're gonna go ahead and do that now. What's up, Revive Newt? Good morning. Good to see you. All right, the way that we're gonna do this is inside of Amazon, inside of AWS, the tool that allows you to spin up servers. There are actually more than one. So if you were going to do this exactly the same way that we did it with Linode, and you wanted to spin up a VPS, because this did not specify what servers to use, we could spin up a VPS. Amazon does in fact have a VPS service, which is called Lightsail. Now we're not going to use Lightsail because you probably won't use Lightsail in a company setting. You probably won't use it in a company setting. Lightsail is Amazon's more developer-friendly servers, more developer-friendly VPSs like DigitalOcean or Linode. And so we're not going to use that. We are going to use EC2 because that is what you will probably be using. And EC2 has way more options. So, I want to throw you into the more confusing thing so that, you get there faster. Now, You would type in EC2 up here to get to the right resource that you want to use, but EC2 has a number of different things that you can create. Remember, everything in Amazon is a resource, and we can use Terraform to do all of these things. All right, we can use Terraform to do every single one of these things, and so it's very verbose, and like there's a lot of options here. So we can create an AMI, our own AMI. We can create, we can copy an AMI. We can do all kinds of stuff. We can create an AMI from a running instance already, or from a instance that exists. You can do so many different things. There's all kinds of stuff in here about networks and all, AWS key pairs. You can make all that stuff. Everything in AWS is a resource, and you can manage every single one of those things. Now, we don't want to do all that right now, but the thing that we do want to grab is an AWS instance. Okay, an AWS instance is your EC2 instance. You want a server, EC2 is the way to go, most likely. Well, sometimes, and an EC2 instance is what you're going to use. Let's go ahead and set this up now. If you hop into this AWS instance documentation, it gives you a bunch of other information. They give you this data block. We didn't do data block. We're not going to talk about data blocks yet, but data blocks allow you to do a number of different things. It allows you to pass in data to be accessed. It also allows you to do some filtering. You can see here, commonly used to filter out certain things to be able to grab specific sets of information as data, but we're not going to worry about that at all tonight. And so if you looked at this, this is for an AMI lookup. That's great. Actually, I didn't read what it actually was, but it's to help you find an AMI. So this is kind of cool. This is really cool, actually. I like this. This is not an example they used to have in here. So let's talk about what this is. Remember how we talked about how dumb it is that there is no easy way to find an AMI, and that even in Amazon's documentation, the way that they tell you to go find an AMI is to go to EC2, act like you want a brand new server with a launch instance button. They want you to go there, and then they want you to actually copy this AMI ID. That's whack. That's super whack. This lookup is kind of cool, especially if AMI ID changes for any reason. That's kind of cool, and so that you don't have to worry about specifying the AMI depending on what region you are currently in. But we're not gonna use that for now. We're gonna be a little more explicit about it, but that's kind of cool. I like that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the resource block here for an EC2 instance. Okay, so let's go back to our code and let's talk about this. All right. What we can do now is we're gonna put this underneath. So up here was our AWS budget, and we're just gonna keep building onto this file. Now, this works. Exactly what we're gonna do works. We can put everything we want in this file. This is not the, again, idiomatic way of doing things. There are a number of paradigms to being able to do this more easily. We're not gonna worry about those tonight. We're not gonna worry about modules. We're not gonna worry about diving into all that tonight, because I don't think it's super beneficial for you to know right at this point. But yeah, right now we're just gonna keep going through and building right in the same file. So what we have here is another resource. And so I'm gonna put a little thing here. It says our EC2 resource. Okay. And the resource is an AWS instance. That doesn't feel right to me, actually. AWS instance. I feel like there's like an AWS like EC2 instance or something. Okay, maybe that is it. I don't know why I feel that way, but it feels like there's another, it feels like it's longer than that, but I don't see anything else, so that works. Maybe that's it. Cloud9 environment, EC2, resources. I don't care about the data. Why does this feel wrong to me? It's probably right. Feel like, yeah, provides an EC2 instance resource. Cool, that works. What's up, Safely Curious? Welcome. What's up, Sir Mech? Good to have you. What's up, XIS? Hazardous, welcome. It's good to have you all here. Will Terraform plan tell us? Yeah, Terraform plan will definitely tell us. It definitely will tell us. So data sources, AWS EC2 instance type. We don't need any of that data source right now. Yeah, this is right. This is right. Okay, so let's take a look at what they've given us and let's change up some of this stuff. So we'll look at what's required. I've spun up EC2 instances before. I know that the things that you need for an EC2 instance are much like the things that we needed for Linode on Monday. We need to know the class, basically, of the instance, so the type of the instance, and we need the image to boot this thing off of. That's the only two required items, I'm pretty sure. But let's see, tags as well. Tags are cool. I like this. We'll use tags. We'll talk about what tags are. We've talked about it before. Tags are just kind of metadata for the system. And so let's set this up. So the AMI, this example that they gave us was going to pull information. It was going to do a query using that data paradigm, and it was going to pull this information. We don't need that. Here, I'm going to introduce you to a way of utilizing variables. So on Monday, the way that we utilize variables was using environment variables, okay? We set up environment variables that were read by Terraform at runtime if we prepended them with capital TF underscore var underscore, and then the name of the variable, and it will pick those things up. There are different ways that we can handle these variables, and one way we can do it is we can do it right here in the file. So if I wanted to do it right here in the file, let's say I wanted to use a variable for this AMI ID, I could say I can call this variable like AMI ID, and then I could set up a variable somewhere in here. I could set up, remember, a variable is like a resource type here. So I can set up variable and I can call it whatever I want to call it, which would be AMI ID at this point. And then I could give it some information. So I can give it a description, I can give it a type, and I can say, hey, this is going to be a string. All right. And I can give it a description. If I wanted to give it a description, I can give it a default value if I wanted to give it a default value. But this alone would work. Okay. This would work as a variable, but then I would need to give this variable some value somewhere. And the way that we were giving the variable value, again, was using environment variables. There is a different paradigm for this and a more common paradigm that you might want to use. And this is also going to set us up for success in dealing with multiple environments. The way that we can do this, okay, is to not only declare these variables outside of this file, but also define them outside of this file as well. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna make a brand new file in here, all right? I'm gonna make a new file called, we talked about some other Terraform file types. I'm going to make a variables.tf file, and I'm going to make a terraform.tf vars file, all right? And we're gonna talk about what both of those things are, okay? Terraform.tf vars, and we'll add another one and call it variables.tf. Okay, so in here, we have a terraform.tf vars and a variables.tf. These two files, they are for not only, one is for declaring variables, and one is for defining, one is for declaring, and one is for giving value to these variables. So variables.tf, this file will allow us to declare all the variables that we intend to use inside of our application, okay? So, same way, we have a variable called AMI ID. We want to have a variable called AMI ID, and in here, we can do this. And so we can give it a type. The type of that AMI ID is going to be a string. That might need to be in quotes. I don't remember. And you can put a description here. And the description is going to be something like, this is the ID of the AMI for our region. Description doesn't really matter, just a little bit of text about what's going on here, okay? So this is how you declare a variable. The variable does not have a value yet, but we have declared this variable right here. You can do a couple different things here. You can add a default value. So if you want it to always work or likely try to make it work, you can add a default value in here and give it a default value that it'll fill in if it doesn't get overwritten by something else. We're not gonna do that right now. Yeah, we will. No, we won't. Let's just use the whole paradigm. So this is the way that you define a variable, and we can define all the variables we want in this file. Super helpful, okay? That's the variables.tf file. But over here, we have a Terraform.tf vars file, okay? The variables.tf file is where we declare it, and the tf vars file is where we assign value. So now we can say the value of AMI ID is equal to whatever we want it to be now. And so let's go ahead and let's copy this AMI ID. And now we've provided value here. We've provided the AMI ID value here. So you can declare all your variables in this file, and you can assign them their values over in this side of things, okay? So let's see if this is working for us. Let's save both of these files. Let's look at our main TF, and let's look at it. So we're calling for AMI ID. That's the only variable we have at this point. But let's also make the size of our server. Let's make that var dot maybe instance type. Sure, let's do that. Var instance type. We'll try that out. And tags. Let's do var.environment. Let's do that. So this tag is going to be some metadata. Setting the tag of name with a capital N will actually set the actual name of the EC2 instance as you see it inside of Amazon. So we'll set three different variables right here. So we're going to use instance type, and we're going to set environment. And so let's save that really quick. Let's go over here, and let's go ahead and declare these variables. So variable instance type. Okay, variable called instance type. That's going to be a type string as well. And the description on this is going to be equal to, this is the size and class of our instance. And we'll just need one more variable, which is environment. And that's going to be type, also type string. And this is going to be the environment for our EC2 instance. Okay, so we got a couple different things here. We set up a few variables. Now we need to assign values to those two that we just created. So I'm gonna go over here and, I hate when it does that. It did the wrong one. It's fine. And I will close. Let's close that. Okay. So now let's give these values really quick. And so we'll do instance type. And we'll set instance type equal to t3.micro, because that's the size that we're going to be using. And we will set the environment. Right now, we have three different environments, but right now we can simply set that to, let's set it to development right now, just for now, because that's the first environment on our list, okay? Remember, the very first thing we said in here is that we're gonna need to set this up for three different things: development, staging, and production. And so let's go ahead and, just for now, let's go ahead and call it development, just to make sure we are getting this set up. So environment just like this, okay? You didn't define VPC. It uses the default one in AWS. Yes, I did not define VPC because most of us have no idea what a VPC is. And I only have the default one created. I didn't want to create another VPC. A lot of networking involved in that. It will select the default VPC automatically. What editing program are you using for Vim? I'm using NerdTree. Yeah, I'm using NerdTree with Vim, the NerdTree plugin. There is also a default security group as well. There is. All right, so I'm gonna save all these. All right. And I'm gonna get out of here. Let's get out of here. All right, let's clear this out. Now that I've made some of those changes here, let's go ahead and check to make sure everything's good. So I'm gonna do a Terraform, validate first. Also, just so you know, if you do a Terraform FMT, if you do a format, it does run a validation first, okay? So it does run a validation first. I'm being explicit about what we are doing here. So Terraform validate, we have valid configuration, and then we do Terraform FMT. And it did modify both of those files. We can go take a look to see what they kind of look like if we want to see that. All right, so we got development there, environment, instance type, AMI ID. We're kind of that looks good to go. Again, all it did was really line up the equal signs. That's what it really does. It lines up the equal signs. So yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I need to troubleshoot my permissions on this. I have an account with full admin and billing. Still can't view the billing service. Ooh, that is kind of weird. Definitely kind of weird. What's up, Nakuno? Welcome to the channel. Doodles TTV. Zach Overflow. Like that. That's pretty good. Dreams Not Enough. Good to see you. Domus. Welcome to the channel. Good to see you all here. Dumb Luck. Welcome. All right. So all these are looking good. Let's go ahead and do a Terraform apply. So we can see, actually, yeah, we did the format. Let's do a Terraform apply and see what we get out of this. Things are looking good. What are we actually getting out of this? All right, so our budget's gonna be changed from 2000.0 to 2000. I don't remember doing that, but I don't remember putting in the decimal point, but okay, whatever. That's changing. I don't know why it's changing. Well, actually, let me see why it's changing. I'm gonna get out of here. I kept it the same. I don't know. I don't know why that's changing. Super odd to me, actually, but okay, whatever. We'll do the apply again. See why it's changing that. Same. It seems like the same number, so we're kind of all good there. And then it's going to create a new AWS instance. Web will be created. I kind of should change the name of that, but whatever. I'll leave it as web. That's the identifier here. And it's going to add all these things. Great. So I'm going to type in yes. And we are going to now have 2 resources. So we can go watch this get spun up. I'm going to go into EC2. And it is now, it's now running. Okay, I forgot I had this other thing running. I need to delete this. Let's get this out of here. I don't need this. The whole dashboard is different now. It's bothering me. Instance settings, instance, manage instance state. Oh, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I'm deleting it. This is an instance of something that I was using for something else. So development. Remember how we called the name of this development? Remember how we set the variable .environment? The tag that we used set this as a development. It set the name right here as development. So the code that set this up is this code right here. This little bit of when we set the tag here and we called the variable var.environment, we were able to set that piece up. So it is called that, and you know, we are getting some, we're getting all of our information here, and the system is set up. Great. We don't need to access it right now because that's not part of what we need to do, but that does work. Okay. Now let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's look at what else it said we needed to do. So although we created the development and we created it as a T2 micro, we use Amazon Linux. It's tagged appropriately. It is tagged as a development environment. We're not doing any IP address output. And so let's now learn a little bit about outputs. Okay. Let's now learn a little bit about outputs here. So, all outputs are to be able to get data from a Terraform run, from a Terraform apply, to be able to collect data and extract data and pass it back to yourself to output it so that you can utilize it in either other places or collect it for your own use. And outputs are pretty simply done. You want to take a look at the way that the output looks, just like any other resource. The output is the keyword to kind of start off this output block. We give a name for the output that we want, and then we specify a value for that output, okay? And we basically just refer to the information. We refer to the information that we want to grab. And so the way that's kind of broken down here is the resource type, then the resource identifier, and then the actual item identifier. So we'll take a look at what that means, okay? This means if we want to get an output for this, we can do this. Create an output. All right. We'll give it a name. And so maybe I'll call it, server _IP. All right, let's call it that. And the value that I'm going to give this is going to be first the resource type. So the resource type that we're going to be trying to grab information from is this AWS instance. So the very first thing that we're going to put here is AWS _instance. Then we're going to use this dot notation. If you've done anything with JavaScript and the way that you kind of can string together data, and so we are going to look in this AWS instance resource, and we're going to look for a name now. So the name of this identifier is web. So we're going to look for web, and then we're going to look for the thing inside that we want. The way that you can get that information about what you want, and the way that you can get the information about what you can get, is in the AWS instance. I can grab pretty much any argument that's available to me. I can grab this thing here. All of those things when you went to go do the apply. So I'm gonna save this really quick. All the things that get set up here, let's say known after apply, I can grab this data. These are things I can get out as output. It says known after apply. That means we're not gonna know what these things are until the apply happens, and then we can capture that output. So I wanna grab the IP address or the public DNS address for us to be able to log into the system, or for the engineers to be able to do so. So I'm gonna grab this public DNS address or public IP, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna do public DNS for fun here, whatever. So let's go ahead and do that. So .web.public _DNS. And this will give me some outputs. All right. So we made some changes. Let's go ahead and do a format. All right, we're gonna go here. Let's do a Terraform apply after we made those changes. And let's see what we see. What's up, Flightless Moon Pie? I always join these halfway in and don't know what's happening, but appreciate the enthusiasm. All good. All we are doing today is going through a fun little, if you do exclamation point project, it'll take you to a Notion page, which sets up a little scenario. We're using Terraform to be able to provision AWS resources tonight. Just messing around. We really are just messing around. But we're learning how this really is how you might do something like this at a company. Like these are the types of things that you would do. So check this out. All we did was add an output. And so this is interesting. I don't know what's happening right now with this budget. It might be because the budget is no longer at 0, maybe. I'm not sure why it's trying to update the budget from this to the other thing, and why it's having trouble doing it. But okay, it's trying to do it again. That's odd. We can look into that. But it is changing one thing, and it is it's gonna add in this changes to the outputs. So I'm gonna type in yes so that we can get these outputs, and check this out. The outputs are going to be that we get this data back. You can always retrieve your outputs, always, at any given time, by doing Terraform output. It's either output or outputs. And there we go. Our server IP, and maybe I should change the name from server IP to server DNS. And this is the address of the server that was created via Terraform. So we were able to provision it, let that information get populated, and then get that information back. And it is now available to us. The reason why it's available to us is that you can pull it out of the state basically. And so it knows these things that we need. So it's here. It's here and it's ready. It's very exciting that we have this information now. All right. So this is probably going to be this is the pivotal moment where we're going to start talking about now these different environments. And this is where things get complicated, okay? Before this piece, if we were just working with one environment, things are fairly straightforward. You start to, it takes time to learn, all the different resources and things that you can use. Honestly, most of the understanding is that if you know how to use the service, it becomes pretty easy to use Terraform to manage that service. If you know how to use the platform, using Terraform can be pretty straightforward. But when we get into more dynamic templates, when we get into where we want to add in some logic and some understanding to make this work for more things so that we don't have to manually type out all the different resources that every environment needs, this is where it gets tough. The Terraform output refresh state. So really the output is getting pulled from state, to be 100% honest. No, it doesn't. I don't think it makes any changes to state. I'm not sure. I should have checked the timestamp. Yeah, I think it did. I think it did touch state because of the updated timestamp there. So yeah, and the backup as well, and it's a little bit larger than the backup. So yeah. So cool. We got a little bit of information out of there. So we are doing this. So I checked off a couple of those things here. But how in the world would you do multiple different environments? How would you do that thing? First, let's think about this a little bit, and let's think about what would change if we changed environments, or what would need to change. How do I find a valid AMI ID? A couple different places. Someone posted a link to a place before. There we go. Cloud Images, Ubuntu, local. So there's one here. Here are valid ones here. You can also go into your console, go to EC2, click launch instance, and that's weird. And once you do, you can find the AMI ID right here. If you try to copy my AMI ID, it's probably that you're not in the same region as me. AMI IDs are region specific. So whatever region you set in your provider information. So whatever you set up here in your provider information, make sure you are looking in that same place for those AMI IDs, because they are region specific. Even though they're the same, operating system, they are region specific. All right, so there are 3 different ways, realistically, 3 different ways for this to work. Yeah, you can always use the data source. So the example that they give when you go to the EC2 instance in here, this example will pull it for you. Like if you simply just copy this example that they give you in the documentation for an AWS instance, this will pull the AMI ID. What it's doing right here is it's setting a piece of data up, which is AWS AMI. And what it's doing is it's filtering out some data from the AWS API, and it's grabbing it and it's assigning it to this AWS AMI almost variable. And then what they're doing here is the same way that we access var.whatever, they are accessing the data in the same way. And so this will actually query it if you want. It works, definitely works, but it's a little bit of it's not magic, but I didn't think it was super necessary for what we're doing right now. All right, so there are really realistically 3 different ways that people usually manage multiple environments. All right, the first way that you might go ahead and set yourself up with different environments would simply be to create separate folders for your environment. So we might do something like this. We might have all of this here, and instead of main.tf, maybe we would copy main.tf to development.tf. Actually, maybe we'll just make their development, staging, and production, and then we copy star.tf, and we basically make copies of all these files and stick them into these individual folders. Okay, so we do this, and yeah, it's fine. I'm not actually gonna use these folders tonight. I'm gonna use workspaces tonight for this. But you could copy all the data into there, and then you could change the variable information. So basically, each of these files will be their own separate like Terraform folder. Okay, and so you'd have to have because we're saving all the data locally right now and stuff. Each of those would be kind of its own complete separate Terraform area, and you could deploy to these different environments. I could change the environment in the terraform.tf vars, and I changed it from development to staging and blah blah blah, and I could change all the variables depending on which folder I was in, and I could use that to manage 3 different environments. That works. That does work. I want to introduce you to another paradigm. There's also some cool stuff you can do with locals as well, and you can do some cool. We're gonna use workspaces, and we're gonna use workspaces in an interesting way. You can also double down on it and use workspaces in an even more dynamic way than we're gonna do now. But workspaces is what we're gonna use now. So Terraform has a functionality called workspaces. Okay, what these workspaces allow you to do is to segregate and to separate state. Okay, so all I want you to know about workspaces right now is that a different workspace will manage a different state file. Okay, remember how important I told you state was for Terraform to be able to work? If you should create a different workspace, you will be managing a different state. So we can use these workspaces to manage a different environment. So right now, by default, you're kind of set up with a default Terraform workspace. Now, there are caveats to all these. Using workspaces, there are caveats to it. Using those folders, there are caveats to it. I encourage you to look up, if you Google multiple environments Terraform, you will likely come across 4 or 5 different articles that have completely different information about the best way to handle these things. But I do encourage you to do so. It is super helpful in the future. It is something that we'll talk about during Hoist, whenever we get to run Hoist next. But let's go ahead and let's create workspaces for all of these things. And what I'm gonna do first is I'm actually gonna destroy everything as it is now so that we can start fresh with some new workspaces, okay? So first, I'm gonna do Terraform destroy. And I'm gonna get rid of all the things that we've created so far, all right? I don't want any of it. Let's get rid of it. I just found the stream to recommend it. Great work here. I appreciate that, Helder. I really do appreciate it. Gusto Pokil, welcome to the channel. Sentient TD, good to have you. So everyone who is new to the stream, I need to put more information about this in the about section, which I have not updated in a long time. But what you're watching now is something called Mastermind Academy. And what we do is we do all things digital delivery. So we do bootcamp style trainings on a lot of different things that support digital delivery. So right now on Mondays and Wednesdays, we run this, which is called Pipelines, which is a journey into software delivery, automation, and infrastructure. This is DevOps and site reliability engineering concepts. We also run one called Decoded on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is a journey into software engineering and computer science. So that's the coding. That's basically your de facto coding course. And we do one on Fridays called Horizons, which is a journey into cloud computing with Amazon Web Services. There are more coming, but there are 3 different pieces. They're 8 weeks long, and there are 3 sections of them. There's a beginners, an intermediate, and advanced. They're called apprentice level, journeyman level, and master level. There are also shorter ones that are 2 to 3 weeks called excursions that run at different times throughout the year. And they dive into more specific topics, so things such as Docker, things such as Git, things such as Linux. So if you ever want to check out any of those things, I need to make a command right now called maybe website. So I'll do that. Website commands, add, exclamation point website. And we'll set that up as academy.mastermind.io. And you can get all the information about the stuff that we do here. If you're interested, there's a schedule there. You can see all the stuff. That did not work because I typed that in incorrectly. Hold on. Oh, actually, website's already there. So let me see what website currently is. Oh, there we go. Except the journeys isn't there. So let me mess with that. Commands, edit. I never remember. I need to remember these a little bit better. Website, and we'll do https:// Make sure I spelled it right because I'm a bad speller. Yeah, now the website command does in fact work if you ever want to find out all the stuff that goes on here. Okay, so we destroyed everything. Everything's pulled down. We're clean. We're ready to go. Let's go ahead and let's set up our workspaces, okay? So I'm going to do a Terraform workspace create. I think it's create. I'll look at it in a second. I'm pretty sure it's create, or is it, or is maybe create, and then you give it a name. So I'm gonna set up one for development. Terraform workspace new, not create, it's new. So, okay, you know, sometimes you forget things. New, and I spelled development wrong. So I'm going to actually delete that one first because I spelled it wrong and I don't want any extra workspaces. It's your active workspace. So because I created the wrong one, I need to switch back to another one. And so I'm going to select the default workspace so that I can delete this one really quick. And then I can recreate it correctly. New development. There we go. So a development workspace. And then we're going to also create one called staging. All right, we got one called staging, and then we're going to need one finally called production. All right, there we go. So now we have 3 different workspaces. If you want to see what workspaces are available to you, the way that you do it is you do a Terraform workspace show, and that will show your current one. If you do list, it will show all of the ones that you have available to you with little stars showing what it is. Now, let me give you a little word of advice. If you get to somewhere that is utilizing workspaces, I do love workspaces. I'm a big fan of workspaces, but if your company has allowed you the ability to deploy things on your own, and you're not doing any like GitOps strategies where this gets deployed automatically through, through some type of CI pipeline, be very careful with workspaces, because it's tough to, if you don't put something in place to know what workspace you're on, you got to actively make sure you're checking to make sure you're in the right workspace. It's very, very, very important that you know which workspace you're in. So I'm using this prompt that I use, which is called spaceship prompt. It actually tells me right here what Terraform workspace I'm currently in. So if I switch to something else, so I do Terraform workspace select, and I go back to development, this will change to development so that I always can see what's going on. It's nice. It's really nice. Yes, workspace drift. It's a pretty common occurrence, actually. It's one of the biggest reasons why the folder, why using the folder structures instead is a great way to do it. It really is. I just kind of wanted to introduce you to the concept of workspaces. To kind of show you something. Thank you so much, Lead DevOps, for the tier 1 sub, 2 months. I appreciate it. Good to, I appreciate the support, appreciate the love. I'm glad you don't have to watch any more ads. So do you recommend using the workspace feature at an enterprise level? Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't think it has to do with the scale of where you don't. Absolutely. I think using workspaces is incredibly helpful for that. I think, again, I think it has to do, like, if you are, I think the enterprise level is where this might work the best at, is where workspaces works the best at. The folder structure, I think if you have access to, if everyone's gonna have access to deploy on their own, I would personally do a folder structure, use a folder structure instead and do them all in folders, because it's visually easier for people to know where they're at, and it kind of, it makes a little more sense to people where, like, knowing where they are at any given time. And there also is Terraform Cloud. There is. Okay, so I'm on the development workspace. What this will do is it'll manage state in 3 different places, basically. Each of these workspaces, I can use the same exact code if I want, but the state will be managed separately. Now, there's some problems here. Things, again, like how do I work with stuff like that environment? And let's say, there are some differences between the environments. Our examples, because of time's sake, there's not a lot of differences. There are only, the only differences are the amount of instances. We'll talk about that in a second. But the environment names are different. So how would we do something like this? Well, there's a couple different ways you can handle this too, but the most common way, I think I generally see people doing this, is I'm actually going to, I'm going to rmdir all of these folders really quick, and production, so that we're cleaned up a little bit. The most common way that people are generally going to do this is going to be to keep a standard variables TF file. So, variables TF, we're going to need these variables in all of our environments. So that's cool. We don't need to do anything with this. But what we would do is we would go over and change our TF vars file, and we would create a TF vars file for each of our environments. So right now we have a terraform.tf vars, which is a standard one. But what we could do is, let's QA, get out of there. We can move our terraform.tf vars file to something like development.tf vars. Okay. Then we could copy that to a staging.tf vars. All right. And we could also copy it to a production.tf vars. Okay. So now take a look at the files that we have that exist. We have a development here, a production, and a staging. Let's go ahead and modify them so they make a little bit more sense with what we're doing. So development.tf vars, how's that looking? That's looking good because the environment is development. Let's go to our production.tf vars because it's right here. I didn't like that. I don't know why it opened up right there. I pressed the wrong button, I guess. Cool. So the production TF vars will change here, and we'll change the environment to production. All right, you see production.tf vars down at the bottom. That's how we know we're in the right thing. And we go down to staging.tf vars and also go over here and change this to staging. All right. So now we have 3 of the TF vars files. Oh, small changes, very small changes, but we were able to make that change, and we're able to make that happen. And kind of things are good to go here. And now what we can do is we can deploy in each of these different spaces, and we will get different values, and we'll have different state depending on which one we're deploying in. So let's make sure we're good to go. Let's Terraform format all this. Let's Terraform apply. And this is code that we already deployed before, so we should be good to go. And now take a look at what you see here. We tried to deploy this, and it says var AMI ID. This is the ID of the AMI for our region. This is the description that we put in, and it says enter a value. This is what will happen if you declare a variable and do not assign it a value. You might be saying, hey, how come we assigned it a value? Like, how come it's not using it as it was using it before? Well, before we had a singular TF vars file, which was terraform.tf vars, and that's the only one that was there to pick it up. And so it picked it up and it grabbed that for the one workspace that we were working with, okay? Now we have multiple workspaces with different names. It's not gonna pick up any of these by default, and we also did not assign a default value for this variable, okay? And so we could type it in right here. We could manually input every single variable that we've declared, and that will be fine, but that would also get super annoying. You know, that's not really a way you want to do things. How do we do this properly? The way that we do it, because we have these TF-vars files, is during the apply command, we need to specify which variable file we want to use for this workspace. This is another reason why I don't necessarily agree. Well, I wouldn't recommend this method for a team. And this method goes a lot farther. We're not going to be able to get into the depths of this method. The reason I'm introducing this to you is because this is ultimately the level 2 to this method. To me, is the best way. You can do a lot of dynamic stuff here, but yeah, these are in the default workspace. So propagation 69, the files themselves, there's no difference in the workspace. Changing the workspace does not change the files that you're working with. It only is going to change the state that you're working with. So it's not like Git. It's not like changing a Git branch, okay? So the files, if I make changes to the files, they will stay this way across all workspaces. So I want to be very clear about that. That is a good, that's a good question. If unintentional changes were made in an environment, is there a rollback feature to get to the desired point or something like snapshots? Hey, Luna, perfect. I love it. Well, so no. The reason why there are not rollback points, well, built in, there are not rollback points. And the reason why there's no rollback points is because it's code. You can utilize your version control to get you back to the point that you want to roll back to. There aren't any rollbacks, but you can, you know, if you make a release utilizing Git, if you make a tag utilizing a specific Git commit, you can always get back to where you were. So when whenever you'll say you deployed a bunch of stuff and you're trying to roll back, it will, if you roll your code base back, if you go back to a previous Git commit and try to deploy that, it will make the changes that it needs to do so. All right, so let's do a Terraform apply here. Let's get, sorry, I didn't do what I was supposed to do here. We need to tell it which file to use. And the way we're gonna do this is with the var file option. We tell it which variables file we want to use. And so I'm going to tell it to use the development.tfvars file that we created for this. All right. And we're going to apply it, and it's going to pull in everything, and we can kind of confirm that things are good. And so so this is interesting. We only focused on, we're going to have to make some changes actually. And I'm going to make them now before we run into some issues. Okay. We're going to have to make some changes because we're going to set up some budget. We're going to change the budget so that there are 3 budgets, whatever. And you can see in here on the EC2 instance that you can see in the tags that the names of them are going to be development. Great. We get to all that. Let's not apply this yet. Let's make one more change, even though we're running late on time. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and change our budget billing name to instead of this, let's make this var.budget name. Okay, just so there's a different budget. Now, normally this is dumb. This doesn't make any sense. This doesn't help us at all in our budget unless we would add a filter to filter out the specific resources that were for these. But again, we're not trying to be perfect right now. We'll create a variable called budget name here. Let's save this file. Let's go over to variables.tf and let's add a new one here. And we called it budget name. And the type is simply going to be a string. And we're gonna leave the description off for now. We'll save that. And then over here in the development TFRs, we are going to give budget name. We'll call this budget, and I'll just make it even right here. We'll call this dev budget. In this one, let's also do this here and change dev to prod budget here. And the last one is staging. And we'll call this, stage. We'll leave that as staging. And then, oh, what in the world? It's not doing what it's supposed to do. Hold on. Oh, what is it doing? Oh, I guess I copied V last. That's trash. Okay, never mind. It is doing what it's supposed to do. And we'll call this last one. And we'll call this prod budget. Okay, very, very excited. Can we also just do a for loop to create instances in each environment? You could. No. So yes, City, you could do a for loop. Yes, but it would all be one environment. It all wouldn't be one environment. You could use them as separate environments, but it would be all in one state file. Okay, it would all be in one state file. Oh, staging. You're right. Thank you. But yeah, so that would work, but it would all have to be in one state file. And that can be problematic. That can be problematic, but that's okay. Depending on your setup, that might make the most sense. It really could make the most sense. Yes, you could. So yes, you could use Terraform.workspace and it will use the workspace you are in. Yes, that's what I was saying. There are a number of ways you can make this more dynamic. There's also some caveats with using that Terraform.workspace to determine the workspace that you're in and using this. There's a little bit more setup you have to do it properly as well. So yes, you can 100% do that. So the same, and so what's being said about that is the same way that we are specifying like var.budget name to grab that data. You can actually grab the name of the current Terraform workspace that you're on using some internal functions that Terraform has available to it. And I could pull that in easily for the name. We could also do some fanciness to utilize using a setup of locals and stuff to make it the whole thing kind of self-aware of where it is and what it's doing. And it makes it kind of cool. All right, so we got all that set up right now. Let's go ahead and set up all these real quick. Let's go ahead and spin them up real fast. Oh, whoops. Budget name, blocks of type variables are not expected here. Does you mean variable? Oh, I spelled something wrong, as I usually do. You know, we just make mistakes. And we'll get going here and we will deploy it and let's see what happens. We'll get this going. So yes, now we are saving everything locally. So you'll see that as I move on from this environment to the other environments, that the state file size and things are going to be completely different, if not completely gone. Terraform book I've been running. It's really good. I read like half of it. I read like half of it a long time ago. Well, I haven't that long ago, but I haven't read the whole thing. For in practice, you want to create your staging prod in different AWS accounts so they're isolated from each other, i.e. VPC. SimCity, yeah. So AWS best practices is, yes, is generally that different things like that would be done in separate accounts, and you can, or in VPCs. I prefer the method of not having different accounts for every single one, but I like to have kind of like I really like the paradigm of upper and lower. This is something that started in the cleared space, but where all your production stuff is in one place, and then you do the isolation of all of your development stuff in another. So usually I keep staging and prod together, and then I keep everything else elsewhere. I'm also open to different accounts I am open to it. It works. It also makes your code the most consistent if you completely separate everything. If you create identical environments across the board so that all the configuration can be exactly the same, it makes it a lot easier. But again, there's a little bit more overhead in that. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But that is best practice. Really is best practice. And it helps a lot. It helps a ton. If you can isolate and modularize each account in a good way, it makes it so easy to recreate if you need to recreate it, or to expand on what you already have. Makes it super easy to do. All right, so we got that done. We have some output there. I'm going to change my workspace. Terraform workspace. Select staging. Now, this is gonna be the last thing that we're gonna do tonight, actually. But if I take a look at the main.tf, look at one of the options that we had in here. One of the options it said was that staging was gonna have 2 T2 micros and production was gonna have 4. One easy way we can do this is there's a paradigm inside of, and there's a couple different paradigms actually inside of Terraform for being able to get up multiple of a resource. The way that we could do this is to use the count function. And so there is a count parameter. And what we can do is we can implement a count parameter here. And so normally if I wanted 5 instances, I could do count equals 5 and it would give me 5 of these resources, okay? But what we'll do is for now, we will do a count and we'll set up another variable. We'll do var.count, okay? We'll call it instance count. Count equals var instance count, and we will create this now. And we're gonna do this in the staging and we're gonna have to retrofit it to the other environments. And so now that we're gonna set up this instance count, what are we gonna do now? The same thing that we've done already like 3 different times. We're gonna go in here, we're gonna set up a new variable and we're gonna call this instance count. And we are going to set this equal to a new type. What is the type for, is it integer or is it number? I can't remember. Yeah, not valid type specification. Is it number? I feel like that's it. Yeah, let's go with that. That feels right. All right, so a number type instead of anything else. And then to start off, I'm gonna just modify staging for now. And I'm gonna create a new thing here called instance type. And I'm gonna set it equal to 2. Why am I gonna set it equal to 2? Because we're supposed to use 2 in staging, okay? All right, and so now that we are in staging, if I do an LL, there's Terraform state there, but it's gonna be it's different from the other one. And now if I do a Terraform apply, we'll just do a Terraform format first. Make sure we're good to go. I'm glad this is why you do a format right here. This is why you do a format, because I have a problem here. Instance type equals 2. The argument instance type was already set at staging TF vars. Hold on, let me see. On line 5, let's see. Oh, sorry, not instance type, instance count. You're right. Thank you. Instance count instead is equal to 2. But this is again why the format is good. The formatting is good because it runs a validate first. So it validated what I got wrong. Thank you so much, Reset Boys. Good catch. Stream went down for me. Oh no, hold on. Is it up for me? Let me check. Still consistently pushing out bitrate. I will say, I have to give credit where credit's due to Comcast. Comcast usually is super problematic for me, and it had been very problematic ever since I upgraded to business class. I get a very consistent upload kind of the entire time. I usually drop less than 0.1% of all packets throughout the stream, and it's super helpful. So hopefully you're good to go. It looks good on my end. Hopefully we're still good. Okay, so now that that's good, let's do a Terraform apply, and let's see where we're getting to here. Same problem we had before. Remember, we have to specify what file. So we need to do var file equals, and then we need to do staging dot tf vars. And once we get this running, let's see, missing resource key, output server IP. Ooh, this is good. This is good right here. This is really good. Missing resource key, because AWS instance.web has an account set, its attributes must be accessed on specific instances. For example, to correlate with indices referring to resources, use AWS instance web. Okay, so check this out. The reason why this is having a problem, I actually didn't realize, I wasn't thinking about this. This is great. Here's what's happening. Here is what's going on. So we are now, because we have a count, we are now specifying that we have more than one instance, okay? Because we have more than one instance, it uses the paradigm. It's going to basically give these indexed numbers. So because we have two, one's going to have 0, one's going to have 1, so that it can be identified internally. Remember, this is an internal identifier right here. So web, if both of them were called web, it wouldn't know which one was which. So it's going to assign one as web 0 and one as web 1, okay? If we want the output to all of these, the way that we grab it is to do server IP. And what they want us to do is I can do what they put in here, which was the example, which is going to allow us to grab the index here. So count index, all right, is what's going to allow us to grab this. All right, so this is going to make it dynamic so that we can have more than one output here for all the things that are on here. And so let's go ahead and now save that. And whoops, attribute name is required after dot. Oh, I'm tripping. I deleted too much stuff. I deleted way too much stuff. It's supposed to be web here. There we go. See, we know what we're doing sometimes. We just make some mistakes. Remember how I told you I like to use those errors to guide my way? You know, I do it. The count object can only be used in a module. Oh, that sucks. Module, resource, and data blocks only when the count argument is set. Okay, so what's happening here is that because of the way that we have this set up, because we're not using the module paradigm, hold on, actually, let me see. Not count index. Okay, because we're not utilizing a module, we're not gonna be able to get this proper output. That kind of sucks. Can you put an output inside of a resource? I don't think you can. We might have to remove that for now, for time's sake. That sucks. I'm gonna comment this out for now. But the reason why it has to do with the way that it's set up. Normally, like I said, if I were writing this is not how I would set it up. I would advise you to, if you are diving into Terraform, what we're doing right now is good enough for you to know what's going on. If you're going to be diving deeper into Terraform, again, come on through to the hoist class, which is a 6-part Terraform series. But I would look into understanding modules in Terraform. It's super helpful. It's just a way of packaging up this Terraform code. It's really just a folder structure, and it changes the way that you reference the things inside of them. And because of the way that they're packaged up, it allows you to use these paradigms in a different way. Because right now I'm basically specifying one output, but trying to call count for more than one thing, it's not going to allow us to properly use that. So I'm gonna comment it out for now. We're just not gonna get the outputs for these, just because I want you to see that there are more than one servers that you can spin up. You know, we can kind of fix that. But there's a lot of paradigms in which you got to change your code to make it work. But if you look through this, you can see that the index web 1 will be created and the index of web 0 will be created right here, as well as a brand new budget billing thing, which is in fact called stage budget instead of anything else. So we'll actually get a brand new budget, and we'll also get 2 instances. Remember, if you actually wanted to use this, we need to set up a filter to only pull out things that were in the staging environment for that. But cool, we want to add those 3 things. So let's go ahead and add it. All right, you can monitor data via MTR and find the hop that's causing issues between you and say a reliable service like Google DNS. If you get Comcast to rip out to your house, that's the manager explain. Doesn't always happen. Oh, I mean, yeah. So I mean, Reset Boys, the issue is simply how cable works. It's how, like, the issue is not the issue is simply a bandwidth problem to how cable internet works, and how this is a very common problem in apartment buildings and a lot of places where houses are heavily integrated. Simply that there's, you know, everyone's home, simply that people are utilizing the pipe too heavily rather than anything else. Apparently now I have, my data is prioritized apparently, and the guy said I was on a different pipe now. I don't know. It does seem to be the case. I do get extremely consistent speeds now, extremely consistent. But yeah, yep. Off topic question: do you only use Windows? No. I prefer Linux. I use Linux exclusively for years, for a very long time. I use since you knew here, the reason why I use Linux is because the reason why I'm using Windows is because for teaching it gets a little bit easier. I can use it as a whiteboard because I'm using a Surface Pro right here. I prefer Linux, but You know, Windows is also good for gaming. I do play games, but yeah, I use Linux. I don't use Mac, but not because I dislike Mac or Apple. I don't dislike them at all. I'm actually incredibly excited about all the M1 stuff going on right now. And when M1X does come out, I probably will use a Mac for my mobile computing. I very likely will switch to Mac for mobile computing, to be honest. But for everything that I do here and some content creation, gaming and stuff, Windows kind of works perfectly for me. Yes, they are overselling or distance issuing your case. Yeah. So it also has to do with like, it's kind of like how gyms work. They know everyone's not going to be using it all at the same time, and usually not using it all at the same time, and like the capacity doesn't, the way that they do stuff. I was using gigabit, and basically the way that it would, like, I would get speeds. My internet wouldn't go out. It would just be a lot slower than it's supposed to be. We had some streams where I'm supposed to get like 35 megs up, and I would literally be getting less than 1 meg up at times. Super interesting to how, super interesting. I talked to the tech at length, and he was like, yeah, honestly, be very clear with you, like, yeah, the pipes are just overloaded. They're just overloaded. Everyone's home, everyone's streaming all kinds of stuff all at once, like something they're working on. I think it'll get better, but yeah. Any data caps on the business plan? No, that was another thing. The only two benefits to going business plan: no data caps, which I was hitting my data caps. They're just starting to implement the data caps now. I was hitting the 1.2 gigs per month for a number of reasons, but I was hitting that every month, and I had for like the past 6 months. And the other thing is that you do get access to a dedicated IP address, which is very helpful because I want to set up a server here. So yeah, that's one of the reasons. I hope Lenovo makes ARM laptops. I hope they do once Windows sets up a decent ARM. I hope they can make Windows work on ARM well. No, Exagate. So I used to have fiber. I used to have Verizon Fios when I was living in PG County, but Comcast has a stronghold on Baltimore City. There's no other, you can only get this, or you can get like AT&T satellite cable, internet, which is terrible. No, can't get any fiber here. It sucks. It really does suck. Yeah, Comcast is your only option. They have a monopoly here for sure. Try using this to get an output from multiple instances. Output public IP value equals star.public. Yeah, we can try that. Instead of using the count. Yeah, let's try that out. Instead, I'm not sure that'll work, but it might. Let's see. So instead of using the count function, let's go ahead and star it up. That would be, does work, it'd be cool. So not even web, just everything. Oh, .web dots. So the dot star is going to be, I think it would more so have to be this, but I'll do dot star. I doubt dot star is going to work because of well, it might work. Let's see. Because of the way that it's accessing data, but let's see. Doesn't hurt to try. Doesn't hurt to try ever. Hey, it looks like it's trying. Nice. That's cool. I didn't know you could do that. Server IP, and so it just comes back as an array or as a collection. That's nice. Thanks, SimCity. Amazing. We've learned on 2 occasions to absolutely listen to whatever SimCity says. We should listen first try. Oh, Aya, you best believe Starlink had me hype when Linus made his video. He dropped his video today or yesterday. Hype, super hype. I saw Starlink a while ago. I went on. My $99 is paid. My $99 is paid because, not because I need Starlink. I have to, there's some things I gotta test with this. I have to get access to this. I have to. This is game changing. Like, I will heavily support this project. Starlink, anyone who doesn't know, Starlink is a SpaceX initiative to basically create like actually good satellite internet, and they're just gonna put a bunch of satellites in space. They use some pretty cool technology to be able to make it so that you can get some really, really fast internet speeds wherever you are in the world. It's game changing. It really, for a lot of people in the world, I'm here in the US where we have access to pretty good internet, and there are other countries that have access to way better internet. There's also a lot of people who just don't have access to the infrastructure to have internet, period. And so Starlink is really going to help change. It's gonna make significant strides in the access people have to good internet. So I love it. It's pretty nuts. I'm pretty excited about it. Derp, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime sub. Good to have you. So our output did work. I'm very excited about that, Sin City. Thank you so much. That worked for us. Okay, so now let's real quick, let's get our production in place. Let's Terraform, select workspace, production, not right. Terraform workspace select, not select workspace. This is what happens when you're rushing. Workspace select production, and we're gonna get production workspace going. And let's go ahead and make sure that we have our count set up here, because we don't have our count set up here. So instance underscore count equals 4. Remember, we're supposed to have 4 here instead. All right, remember, see, this is still here. The instance count is still in this file. Remember, the files won't change at all. And we can do the same apply that we did, but just make sure that instead this time we are applying the production.tf bars instead. And we will then, now we'll have 4 of these things. Notice how we have 5 things added because we have the budget and we have the 4 instances here all ready to go. So I'll do this, and let's just take a look back. We haven't gone and looked at what we have spun up already. Like, look at this. We're getting instances spun up left and right in staging, 1 in development, 2 in staging as we're supposed to have. And as soon as it's done, we will have 4 production instances, which we do have already. 4 production instances that are spun up, that are going to be available, that are going to be ready to go. Is the workspace a type of versioning? No. That's a nuanced question a little bit. All the workspaces do is change the state that's being managed, and the state is really the most important piece of the pie here. The state is the current setup. It's how the infrastructure currently exists is the state, and the state is so important because that's what you need to know. That's what Terraform needs to know to move from where it is to where it needs to be. And so when the only thing that happens is nothing happens to the files. The files do not change. All that changes is what state it's managing. So it allows us to separate different states. So that because we have different states, it allows us to manage different pieces of infrastructure. So it's not really versioning. It's not versioning, really. If we want to version our stuff, we should send it to GitHub and version the actual code itself. It's code. We can use it just like we would version our own application code. We can do it in the exact same way. Was waiting on Google Project Loon. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna check out Project Loon too. I have to. Like, the thing is, I've learned that there've been so many projects that, like, you got to vote with your wallet. You got to vote. You have to vote with your wallet for things that you believe in, or else they might get shut down. That simple. One of the ones that hurts me the most, one of the biggest project that I missed out on, was for my car, for the Focus RS. One of the problems that it has on track is the rear differential. The way that it works, it can overheat on track if you're really pushing it super hard. It can overheat and the car goes into front wheel only mode, which is kind of trash for what it is. It's not designed to be front wheel. Well, it's designed on a front wheel drive platform, but it's kind of trash. You paid that money for all wheel drive. And so Mishimoto started to develop this RDU cooler, but not enough people who race with them now want this cooler so bad. They developed one that had a lot of promise. It did its job, but not enough people agreed to purchase it. And so they shut the whole project down. And now all of us are sitting out here with no options. This has happened to me with all kinds of tech things. You got to vote with your wallet. Got to make sure this thing happens. Starlink is so important that I got to make sure it happens. I got to, I'll pay the monthly fee to utilize it so they can gather information, so they can get all the stuff right, so that hopefully everyone in the world can possibly have access to this stuff. Like, it's pretty wild. Definitely wow. But I think Google will get it together. I think Project Loon will be, it won't be as good. It won't be as good as Starlink, because Google is just not, they're not in the space game in the same way. Like they're just not in the space game the same way. So that's Starlink's major advantage. But yeah. I started watching. Have you worked with Helm on the channel before? So we did a tiny bit with Helm. So we have a Kubernetes excursion, which is a 6-part Kubernetes series. Actually, think we're going to move it to an 8-part Kubernetes series instead, where we will dive into Helm. We haven't done it in a very long time. So, we'll get there one day. When I run TF, my budget resource keeps getting replaced. Yeah, mine is too. I don't know why. I don't know why it's doing that. Well, are you saying that so there should be 3, right? I'm assuming there should be 3 different ones. If not, okay, so yeah, I have 3 here. Mine does keep getting replaced. If I try to now apply again, it will attempt to reapply. It'll attempt to change it. I think it has to do with that value. So I'm going to change it to 2000.0 just to make sure. I think that's the problem. I think it wants it to be, let's see, F2, the end. Yeah, let's do that. Because it's in US dollars, I think it wants to do that. And so I'll change it to that because I think it wants that. Maybe it wants it to be .00. We'll see. Okay, that works for that. So I'm gonna change you back to Terraform, workspace, not Terradorm, Terraform, workspace, select development. And I'm gonna set up the last piece because we don't have the instance count over here. And the instance count here should just be 1. And then besides that, I actually think if we apply this, I actually don't think anything's gonna change. I don't think we added any more resources. Oh, except for the output. Yeah, so now we get these outputs here. Cool. So we have the 3 different things set up. We didn't finish a ton of resources. I know, Natural Sage. We didn't make it through, unfortunately. But I highly encourage you all to try it out yourself. So I'll show it to you really quick. You know what? Let's do the S3. Let's do at least the static S3 bucket portion real quick. Let's create an S3 bucket real quick. So S3 is, I think what's super helpful about the AWS S3 bucket item. Whoa, S3 control bucket. That's not what I want. I just want the resource AWS S3 bucket. The example usage they give you one for static website hosting, which is kind of cool. And the reason why I want to show you this, I do want to take a little bit of time to show you this, is that it shows where Amazon can get a little bit more complex because we have to put in some routing, like it gives you the option for routing rules in here. It also is probably going to give us somewhere, there's probably going to be some policy that we need to grab. Oh yeah. This is going to have us pull in a policy JSON. I wonder if they're going to give us the policy in here. Oh, no. We're just gonna create a bucket. This is a lot, actually. But just to get you started, I'll show you how to create a bucket and maybe you can do the rest. This is just like anything else. We can make the bucket and we can do this exactly how we've been doing things already. Let's do, so we're in development. Now, remember, I'm gonna leave the outputs here. S3 bucket creation, and we just paste. All right, we just paste this here. And this is what the resource for an S3 bucket looks like. Now, remember, an S3 bucket needs to be unique. So resource, AWS S3 bucket. The name, I don't like it. I don't like that being B. Let's just call it bucket. That might be more helpful. And the bucket name needs to be unique. So we can, again, set up another variable for this. So same thing that we've been doing before. We can set up a variable for this. So maybe we want to var that bucket name and ACL private. We can just leave it like this. But we can use environment, we can just use what we already have. We already have var.environment available to us. So that's great. For buckets, I'm not sure if the name tag does the bucket or if I'm pretty sure the bucket does the bucket name. Name, we're just gonna delete that actually. We'll delete that tag right here. So we'll just do that. And this will create a bucket for us. We just need to go create those bucket names and we can at least get let's do this one for the asset bucket. Let's do S3 asset bucket creation. And just so we know, let's do asset underscore bucket name. There we go. Can you put emojis in the var names there? That would be fun. I don't think Amazon's API would accept that. And because these need to be, for the name at least, this needs to be a web address. Maybe for the tags, you might be able to, but not for the bucket name because it needs to actually be it's a unique global namespace domain. So yeah, you can't do that. Yes, each stage will have its own bucket, correct. What's up, Curry? We are utilizing Terraform, a tool called Terraform, which is an infrastructure provisioning tool. We're utilizing it so that we can write code to provision resources in Amazon Web Services. So we're just kind of learning how infrastructure as code works here. We're just kind of messing around. If you hit ! project, you can see the fun little thing that we're doing. If you ever want to try it yourself, you can do that. If I have a static site currently hosted on GoDaddy, I can update the DNS to point to the spun up EC2 instance and host it here pretty simply. Yeah, you can if you put the file on there. Yeah, that's all you need to do. But Propagation Nation, I don't know why I called you Propagation Nation. Just Propagation 69. It just felt right coming out. Propagation Nation, Propagation. All you look into hosting this website on S3. It'll be much cheaper. All you got to do is copy your files into the bucket and then enable static website hosting. It's a lot. It's pretty cool. So I will look into static hosting with S3, but yes, you are correct. All you have to do is put those files on your EC2 instance and change the DNS. You would need to install a web server. So you would need to install like Nginx and put your files in the right place. But yeah, that's all you need to do. All right, so we got our bucket here. Let's asset bucket name is the one that we're going to use here. So let's save that and let's go ahead and set this up. Asset bucket name, and it needs to be unique. So I'm going to make it something like let's make it dev dot what's this guy's, what was the name of the guy? Dev dot, his name is Ralph. I'm gonna make it dev.ralph.treehouse. That has to be unique enough, right? Dev.ralph.treehouse is I think what we want to do for this one, and save that. And then inside of our variables TF, we need to make sure that we have created one down here. Variable called, again, asset bucket name, and open it, type string, save that. All right, and now if we apply in development with the development TF vars, dev.dogecoin, you can try it out. It's probably taken, but you can try it out if you'd like. So it'll be dev.ralph.treehouse. It tells me I'm just gonna make an S3 bucket for me, and I can simply type in yes. So you can start to see how quick you can create these resources. You can make these very quickly, and then it's always available to you. Now, I want to be clear about something. Because of the way that S3 buckets work, be careful. Actually, as a whole, this is just a little help for you when you're developing things with Terraform. Be careful with the way that you manage things that have persistent storage. So your persistent data stores like S3 buckets, be careful about provisioning them with Terraform. Me personally, for anything that's not super enterprise related, I stay away from it. I've seen too many problems happen with it. If your state gets messed up, you can accidentally tear down the most important piece of your environment. There's protection and things that you can put in place. Make sure that those things are there. But yeah, it won't delete a bucket if it's not empty. It shouldn't delete the bucket if it's not empty. Correct. For S3 buckets in particular, but it might mess up your run. It might mess up your run, and it gets really weird. So that's why I didn't say specifically S3 buckets. That's why I said persistent data storage. Just something to be aware of. Yeah, just something to be aware of. And we can put something in there to see if it'll actually get deleted. I don't think it'll delete if it's not empty. I don't think Terraform will tear it down. It'll just give you an error. But that's not true of something like RDS. I've just seen it happen. I've seen it happen before. So just be careful with it. No big deal. Vape Juice Jordan, thank you. It's good to see you. First off, shout out to Mr. Juice here. I haven't seen you in a while, man. How you doing? Happy New Year. How's everything going? If you ever want to learn all kinds of things, if you want to see someone who is amazing at programming, much better than myself, program and actually build cool things, Vape Juice Jordan is who you want to check out. You'll learn a lot. You have a good time as well. So head on over and give him a follow so that you can join the Vape Nation. I don't have my stuff set up, so I can't go like the Vape Nation or the Vape Nation. I can't do it the same way, but I tried it. I did my best, and my settings aren't set up like yours, but I did my best. But I hope you're doing well. You're moving in 2 days. Hold on, where are you moving to? Where are you moving to? Make sure you have snapshots, otherwise you're dead. Yeah, snapshots help, but then it just becomes a nuisance after that. But yeah, snapshots are there. Hey, that's dope. Well, congratulations. First off, amazing. I'll see you when you get all set up there. I look forward to seeing more of you when y'all get all set up. We gotta play some games or something. We gotta, just hop online and, maybe have a virtual happy hour, virtual coffee date, just talk a little bit, have a good time. But yeah, Be More. Yeah, I mean, you could come to Be More, but Portland, I like Portland. I like the Pacific Northwest period, unless you're talking about Portland, Maine. I'm pretty sure you're not talking about Portland, Maine, but just gotta figure it out. Just gotta testing the waters. Yeah, no, I agree. I think the Pacific Northwest is something that definitely appeals to me. I'm probably never moving out there, but I'll definitely visit there a lot, for sure. Okay, so did that work? That did work. And let's just do our last two environments, and then we'll be done for tonight. And then you all can try out the rest of the stuff on this list if you'd like. I think that setting up your own S3 bucket for static hosting is something cool to do with Terraform. Super helpful. DynamoDB, that's going to introduce some extra things that you might not be familiar with. And then setting up your S3 as backend. There's some extra options here if you want to try it out. But let's go ahead and get these other buckets deployed really quick just to make sure. And we can also see that this was deployed if we just do it AWS S3 LS. Hold on. I need to do an export. That's the wrong account. AWS profile and equals Academy. And if we do another AWS S3 LS, we should see our bucket name. Yeah, dev.ralph.treehouse is up and it's available, and we can select our new workspace. Let's select staging. Let's modify our staging TFVARs and get us a good old asset bucket name going and call this. I hope no one stole this. What is Notion? Notion is simply a note-taking application. Well, not simply, it does some other cool stuff. It's really dope. I really like it. It's for note-taking though. And for setting up ideas and stuff. It also, like, I literally use it for my website, for the back end of a lot of my websites. So if you go to journeys, everything you're seeing here, this is Notion. I'm literally, my note-taking application, this is what it looks like when you take the notes. And you can turn it into a web page, which I did here. So you can, you know, it's pretty cool. I check it out. It's free. Pretty dope if you want to use it. Pretty cool. Fall in love with Notion, but it's got a steep learning curve. Yeah, it's like Markdown on steroids a little bit, but it's pretty cool. Definitely pretty cool. What's up, Navik? Welcome to the channel. What's up, Renan? How you doing? B-Nugs, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for the follow. What's up, Hal? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Derp, I don't know if I got you on the resub, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support and the love. Sorry if I missed you. Reset Boys, thank you so much. K-Fish, thank you so much. All right. It is like Markdown on stereo. It really is. For the way that my brain works, I found it's super powerful for me. One day I'll show you guys all the notes that I have so many notes in there, and it's super helpful. I use it in combination. So I use that, and I use OneNote. I use both of them in conjunction because I like to write on either my iPad or the Surface. I find that to be that's my main way of doing things nowadays. Writing really does help me nowadays. And so I use them in conjunction. I basically write a bunch of notes first, and then I type them out, and then I get them all organized when I need to do some stuff. So asset bucket name is going to be staging. Let's call it stage. Ralph. Treehouse. All right. And while we're in here, let's go ahead and just do the production one as well, just so we don't have to go edit it after this. And prod dot Mr. Ralph dot treehouse. All right, we got it there. Let's go ahead and let's apply. Well, let's apply the one with the staging TF-vars. And it'll give us our bucket. S3 bucket will be created called stage.ralph.treehouse. Yes, that sounds good to me. And let's go ahead and select our production. And let's do the same thing in production. And now we're gonna have all of our environments with all of our buckets. We can simply go over here and we can look, make sure everything is good to go. We have all of our EC2 instances. We have one development server. We have 2 staging servers, and we have 4 production servers. That looks good to me. All right, great, that's what we wanted. And when we go over to S3, we can see that we have our dev, our staging, and our prod asset bucket. All right, dev.ralph.treehouse. I probably should have given those better names for our asset buckets, but we do have 3 buckets. We also have our 3 different billing alarms. They're not really doing our budgets. They're not really doing anything, but we do have our budgets for this as well, set at $2,000, which is a lot, you know, but it will alarm us. It will notify us if we should cross those things. So really, hopefully after this week, this is what I hope you got out of it. What I hope you got out of it is that you now understand a little bit about infrastructure as code. You understand that when people say infrastructure as code, that means you can use code, you can use text to define what you want, what resources you want, how they're configured, and you can use that to get them. You can use that, pass them to a service. There are many different services. We've talked about a few before that you can use to be able to do this. There's a couple different types. This week we spent time on provisioning tools, okay? This provisioning infrastructure as code services. Terraform is the one that we use. There are others in Amazon, CloudFormation or the CDK. Azure, I forgot what the one in Azure is called. I think it's called ARM. I think it's called Azure Resource Manager or something like that. I think. Could be making that up. I'm sorry if I am. There's also other ones like Pulumi. There are other things that also provision these web resources. Terraform is one of the best ones. It's one of the most popular ones because it is it's platform agnostic. It can work with any platform that has an API. You can build a provider for it if you want. And you can use that to do some pretty cool things. We spun up some stuff for Linode for the Linode platform on Monday. We did some stuff with Amazon Web Services tonight. What you also should get out of this is that this is code. So we can deal with this like code. We can use version control. I can now create a Git repository with this if I want. I can simply, do a Git init and begin to create a Git repository. Now I need to set up a Git ignore because I need to remove some of these files from here. But you can set up a Git ignore, you can set up a Git repository, and you can save this code. You can always get a point in time version of your infrastructure. That's why it doesn't have any kind of internal provisions for this, is because you can use source control to set specific versions and tag specific versions and releases for what your infrastructure looks like at any given time. This infrastructure as code also gives you completely free documentation as well. Not the clearest documentation, but you can always go into the code to see what you're supposed to have. It helps with a couple things, configuration drift. So making sure that stuff is always, how it's supposed to be. It helps you put things back in order. It gives you that free documentation. It allows for consistent and reliable and repeatable ways to deploy pieces of infrastructure. Hopefully what you got to see today is that you can also manage multiple environments. That's what that repeatability is. We wrote one template and by switching up some variables and using some little paradigms in there, we were able to manage 3 completely different environments with one template file. Now, this is a very small piece of infrastructure, but as it grows, that becomes very, very powerful, becomes very, very helpful. Yes, you could absolutely write all the code out manually for each infrastructure with hard-coded values and stuff. That's not wrong, but that's not utilizing the paradigms in which they put in place to make this a little bit better for you. Again, it's not idiomatic, but it's not wrong. It really isn't wrong. So just, I want you to understand what infrastructure as code is. I hope you have seen and touched Terraform enough to kind of, you're not gonna be a pro at Terraform, but like, you're cool. I've seen it. I've seen how you deploy things with Terraform. I kind of understand some of the concepts around it, and hopefully it's given you enough so that you can now go off and start to learn Terraform on your own and start to practice it. Terraform is incredibly difficult to learn if you don't know a platform to use it for first. So if you're trying to learn how to use it and you're not familiar with one of the cloud platforms, make sure you're spending some time learning one of those, because you need to know how to use whatever platform you're deciding to control with Terraform. And so, yeah, those are the provisioning tools. Next week, we'll be hopping into configuration management tools. So the other side of infrastructure as code. Now that we provisioned our resources, how do we set up our resources the way that we want them? And how do we keep them set up the way that we want them? Configuration management tools are going to allow us to do that. Next week, we're diving into Ansible all week. So same kind of thing. On Monday, we'll learn what Ansible is. We'll get started with it, learn how you start to deploy things with it, and we'll do a little bit of setup. And then on Wednesday, we'll hop back in with another little random scenario, and we'll probably utilize the same scenario. So we have the infrastructure for this now. We'll probably utilize this exact infrastructure to actually get all the stuff set up on the systems that we are deploying with this. But I do recommend you trying to do the rest of the stuff in this checklist. Try to set up a static hosting bucket. There's some extra steps that have to happen there. It can be a little bit more confusing, but it'll help propel you into stardom. These are valuable things. There are tons of tutorials out there on exactly how to do these things. See if you can try it out. Try to get these things done. Also, just to make sure you don't run out of your free tier trial, you should be good, because it's you should be fine. But make sure you're turning these things down when you destroying these things when you're not using them. Now, yes, destroy them. The way that S3 buckets work, it's possible someone else could steal your S3 bucket. It's also possible that if you try to redeploy not long after you destroy everything, you may not have access. Your S3 buckets that you created, because they are unique global namespace items, the name might not be released when you try to go to redeploy. So be careful with that. Just know that you might have to just change the name of your S3 buckets if that's a problem. But yeah, see what you can figure out. It's okay to be completely confused. Play with it. Change some things. Try to deploy some stuff. Try to destroy some stuff. Try to, mess with a file here. See if you can figure some stuff out. Go look at the documentation. Look all around. Put together whatever kind of picture in your head you need to put together. Whatever you need to do to move the puzzle pieces around to get it. Just start diving into it. Surround yourself with it. Use the terminology. But yeah, hopefully you got something out of that. I'm going to destroy this right now. I'm going to destroy all 3 because, even the destroy, unfortunately, needs the var file command, which kind of sucks. This is why you don't do the var file stuff. But I'm going to do this right now. Oh, yeah, registry link, ! Register. That'll get it. It's weird. Some people are saying that some people were telling me it said it didn't work, but it is working. And the thing that it's giving you is right. A couple people have signed up and it's telling them wrong email address. Make sure you're logged in with whatever email address you register with. Actually, I don't even think it matters because the email address you put in just sends you the link. You can register with whatever email address you want to. But yeah, you should be able to fill that out. It'll shoot you an email. You can join all 3 Google Classrooms. Oh, the baby registry. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, okay. So, I'm not gonna lie. It feels weird to like, it feels weird to share it, but I'm definitely gonna share it. I've already shared it once. I'm definitely gonna share it. Let me grab it real quick because I don't know where it is. Okay, I'm gonna make a command for this. I'm gonna call it baby register. I'm gonna call it registry instead of register. Registry. There we go. Commands registry add. Commands add registry, and it is babylist.com/baby Ashley. Okay. So it's there, exclamation point registry. We'll get it to you. The registry is simply, I'm expecting my first child very, very soon. We're almost in the last, we're in the last couple weeks, I guess. The due date is mid March. So we're expecting our first baby. Pretty excited about it. Me and my wife, I know we're a little bit basic in that we joined the COVID baby club. We've been together for a long time. We were holding out. People have been asking us when we were gonna have kids for forever. We've been together for like 12 years, and it finally happened. Pretty excited. We're gonna do like I said, we're gonna do the baby shower on here for a number of reasons. We've gotten some funny reactions about it. Some people were like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing." Some people were like, "Why? Why are you doing that?" And we're like, again, we don't want to deal with y'all struggling to mute your mics. We don't want to deal with interacting with every single person. We want to come on and have a good time. So me and my wife will be on here later on this month, and we're gonna have fun. We're just gonna have some fun, do some. We're not gonna play any games, but we are gonna allow you all to vote on what you think it is. And we're gonna dive into all the wives' tales that exist about how you can figure out if it's a boy or a girl. We're gonna see if they're valid or not. We're gonna do some Mythbusters type exercises to determine if it's true or not. You'll be able to vote, and you'll be able to do it passively, so you don't have to feel like people. Everyone can join in, everyone can have a part in it. So people refuse to meet. It's always a hassle. Like we did one on Thanksgiving, and it was just you're on Zoom all day. You're fatigued from being on Zoom meetings all the time. We know we have the same problem. So instead, we're gonna be over here having a good time in each other's company while interacting with whoever hops on, family, friends, whoever. But yeah, it'd be pretty dope. It's gonna be pretty exciting. Again, AI Luna, thank you so much for that. The day and time is, so I have the problem is I don't have a link for the actual posting, but it's February 28th at 2 p.m. So it's a Sunday at 2 p.m. But it should be fun. We're just gonna, it's not gonna be super long or anything like that. Just have a little fun. We will do the baby reveal. We'll do the gender reveal. At the same time, after everyone guesses, we'll see who's right, see who's wrong. Make it a fun little event. It might go great. It might go terrible. But we're gonna have fun. We're definitely gonna have fun. We're gonna get some good food, and that's gonna be a good time for us at least. Come on through if you want to come through. But again, Alan, seriously, thank you so much. I do appreciate the love and the support, everybody. But that's it for tonight. That's it for this evening. So my wife encouraged me to eat a little food before the stream today, so I'm not dying right now, but I do need to do a monstrous amount of work. I need to do, a lot of work. So I'm probably gonna go watch. I gotta pick a good movie to watch. I watched today while I was doing work. I was sitting here. I got a lot of screens here. I watched some Netflix. I watched some Hulk movie on Netflix, animated Hulk movie on Netflix. That was good. I actually really enjoyed that. I don't know what it's called. I think it's like Hulk, like World Eater or something. I don't know. That was pretty good. And so then I decided to keep going down that train, and I watched Batman: The Killing Joke or something like that, and that was good. And so I'll find something else along those lines this evening. So let's see who's online. Who do we have doing something cool tonight? Big Data Cup. I don't know what that means. I develop things. We've been over there. Let's see if we have anyone new. Fixing a screenshot server. Let's see. Game dev. There's always a lot of game dev on here. Stock market app. Well, we're gonna go check out Splashly because there is backseating allowed. We can help out with the stock market app. That's in view and Axios. That's cool. Dope. Let's head over. Did we actually? No, wait. Splashly, I think we headed over to last time. I'm pretty sure we already headed over to Splashly. Let's try to share the love a little bit. There's no A&D on the list. Comes in handy. Okay. All right, good. I will, I'll get it. Actually, we now let's head over there anyway. We picked Splashly. We'll head over there anyway. And let's do the raid. Absolutely. Appreciate you all's time as well. I genuinely enjoy my time here with you all, especially during this time of being in the house and you don't get to interact with people as much as you would normally do it. This isn't perfect human to human interaction, but it's dope. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming through, keeping me company as well. Thank you all so much for the encouragement. And sure, you need ointment, I'll make it happen. I know nothing. Any advice, literally any baby tip you all can give me, any children tips you can give me, I will take them because I don't know anything. I know nothing. Learn time, can't wait. Dope. So we'll head over to Splashly again. Let's see. 1098. Yeah, there we go. 1098765432. Earplugs. I'm cool with that. I can do that as well. I also have noise canceling headphones. Cetaphil to wash with. All right, I'm putting that on the list. The name of the Jurassic World movie you were talking about? Oh, so it's a show. It's a cartoon. It's Jurassic World Cretaceous Camp Cretaceous. I'm telling you, it's really good. Y'all should check it out. It's not just for kids. It is it's a nice combination of scary and like it's not really scary, but it's good. It's like I feel like it's like a PG-13. It's like a PG-11 show. It's nice. I liked it. Season 2 just came out. I'm gonna check it out. Brownness can be harsh, high pH too. Okay. All right. I'm cool with that. I will check all that out. Let's see. I'll be ready to see poop from butt to head. All right. It's going to take a little bit to get used to, but yeah, not a lot. So yes, there's not a lot of newborn clothes because my wife, and I agree with her. I definitely agree with her. We're not going to be going. We're not going to be going anywhere. And, does the baby need to be clothed? That's the question. Like, do we need to clothe the baby a lot if we're just in the house? But all right, the raid's it's counting down automatically. I didn't know it did this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks for all the help. Peace out, everybody. See you later.